Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. You can also catch us on WakeUpCallDT.com and on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. From inside these Cafe Kubal studios, you have the opportunity of connecting with Cafe Kubal all throughout central and upstate New York. And we thank you that have gone out to their many locations on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners for their drive-through location. So however you've connected with Cafe Kubal, including for those of you out of town going to cafekubal.com, we thank you and we appreciate it very much. Inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Today's broadcast will feature a very special bonus live edition of AD and DT with Bob Beretta, the athletics director of LeMoyne College, joining me momentarily for our AD and DT to set the record straight on some misinformation and the truth that's out there about LeMoyne's realignment and reclassification. You know, the Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media have been the exclusive first stop for all things coming with reclassification and realignment with LeMoyne College. We have done a series with athletics director Bob Beretta, and we have also had very recently here within the last few months, Dr. Linda Lemura, the president of LeMoyne College, to speak on realignment and reclassification and where the school is currently at. Covering this for about half a year now, we have given you all of the information that they have had to give. And now with a report coming out recently here that I've been able to review, read, and look through each of these pieces and different things that we've discussed outside of some of the money pieces and specifics of that. Everything else has been discussed on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with some of those monetary pieces held back from the college so that they could make sure that all of those estimations were correct that they wanted to release. So everything that you've gotten about realignment and reclassification has come from us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College. So I want to thank Bob Beretta and I want to thank Dr. Linda Lemura. I want to thank the provost, the board of trustees, and all of LeMoyne College, past, present, and future, for allowing me the opportunity to chronicle this series of if they will move to Division I or if they're going to stay in Division II. With that being said, Bob will join me, like I said, in just a moment. And then from 9:30 to 11, we'll get back with Papa Joe down in the great state of Florida, check in on him and everybody down there. Of course, we will be reviewing Aaron Judge's 61st home run, hit 61 years later to tie the AL record with Roger Maris and be a fellow Yankee to do it, which is all too poetic. We'll discuss that, his road to 62, if they're going to keep walking this poor man, which thankfully last night the Blue Jays decided to actually pitch to him at a certain point. So very happy to be discussing that, as well as the Jaguars at 2-1, and of course our college football Week 4 picks and review, NFL Week 3 picks and review, our overall records up against each other, and make our college football Week 5 as well as NFL Week 4. So plenty of great stuff coming up, and it is now time to welcome in Bob Beretta in AD and DT. Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm excellent, Dan. How are you this morning?
Doing very well. And as you and I know, in this very interesting world of media, things get out there. So on realignment and reclassification, setting the record straight this morning on what is actually going on at LeMoyne College, you have not made an official decision, correct?
No, that's correct, Dan. And as you've chronicled our process, our journey, every step of the way with great accuracy, you are 100% accurate once again. We have not made a decision on reclassification. In fact, if folks have tuned in and watched our series, that we've kind of outlined exactly where we are right now in the process. We talked about a document that was going to be released, and that document was released yesterday to the public, to our community, and really an opportunity for us to provide an update to our community and also to try to solicit some more feedback. As you know, we've been extremely transparent, very inclusive in the process. We've held 5 open fora. We held 2 open forums with our student athletes, 2 with the parents of student athletes. This is yet another opportunity to gain additional feedback, to hear more voices, because at some point our committee work is going to be done, and we're very nearing that point right now. And we want to have one last opportunity to listen to any voices out there before our committee takes a vote and makes a recommendation to the president. But that at that point, there's still some very important steps that would need to take place. As we've talked about it, if our committee recommends to the college that we feel reclassification to Division I is in our best interest, then the president would have to agree with that. And she's on our committee as well. So you'd have to feel that she would be on board with whatever direction the committee decides to take that vote. And then it would have to go before the Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees is our ultimate steering authority of this institution. They will vote on this. They will discern this themselves, talk about it, discuss it. And ultimately, they'll make the vote and they'll have the final decision in this process. And so we're weeks away from that, maybe even months away from that happening. It all depends, on certain timelines. But in terms of our committee work is nearing a completion. And I would think that within the next 3 weeks or so, our committee work will be complete.
And in going through this process and releasing this, this document to the public, did you anticipate that there would be such a degree of misinformation because of, speaking on the MAC and speaking on the NEC and speaking on what it would cost and whatnot, to lay out what it would look like if you did go Division I, with "if" being the key word? Did you feel like this would be a road that you may have to cross putting this out publicly?
Well, we considered many different scenarios, Dan, and certainly that was one we talked about, media attention, and if people would jump to conclusions. So, yes, we had considered that as a possibility, but there was really nothing we could do to combat that other than the work that we're doing over the last 24 hours now and trying to set the record straight whenever we can. This is a process. It's been a long journey. We've tried to be exceedingly inclusive and transparent, probably more so than any school that I know of that has gone through this process. But that's the Jesuit way. That's who we are. That's our community. We're a community-based institution, and we wanted to make sure that our stakeholders and our constituents and fans all have an understanding of why we're considering this and what's driving the thoughts. And in so doing, when you're that transparent, obviously it could tend to be a negative, because you open yourselves up to misinformation sometimes and maybe reckless reporting, if you will, things of that nature. And I think that's what we saw yesterday. I think our document clearly stated and outlined the process to anyone who took the time to read it. It stated that this is just another step in the process, and it outlined the steps that I just talked about. So in no way, if anyone were to read that document from start to finish, would you be able to walk away from that and say that LeMoyne had decided to transition to Division I. That's erroneous and quite honestly was reckless in my opinion.
Here with Bob Beretta this morning on a special AD and DT speaking on realignment and reclassification. Bob, with what is true and what is actually in this document that was not reckless reporting, to look at some of the pieces here and the breakdown of it itself, looking at the introduction, you had put in bolds very clearly on the first page, "Please note that the college would be eligible to reclassify only after receiving an invitation from a Division I conference. At the time of this writing, we have not received an invitation." I would think that would have clearly put the kibosh on really anything. But like you said, people have to read the document and not jump to conclusions.
And we've been, again, so transparent in this process. We could have left the names of conferences out, but I think anyone that has a knowledge of college athletics could connect the dots very easily and say, well, these are the conferences that would make the most sense. So we felt like, again, in who we are, we're to a fault. We're honest and open and transparent, and so we want to put that information out there and not hide behind any false barriers or anything that would obstruct the truth being being put forth. And as you mentioned, a school can announce its intent to reclassify to Division I, but they can't reclassify without an invitation to a Division I conference. That legislation was passed several years ago. And to this point in time, and as we speak here at 9:15 on Thursday, the 29th of September, we have not received an invitation to join a conference. And I don't anticipate one is coming today or tomorrow either, for that matter. But our goal in this from the start, and you and I talked about this way back in the winter, I won't even say the spring, but in the winter when we started covering this on your series, we want to put LeMoyne in the best position to capitalize on an opportunity that may or may not come. We want to have the agency to say yes or no. We don't want to be caught unprepared. That's my job as an athletic director. That's Dr. Lemura's job as the president of this institution. And as she stated in several open forum that we've held, she would not be doing her job properly if she didn't investigate and explore this. And we're doing it the best way that we can, with due diligence over a long period of time. Our committee's met now 26. We've held 26 meeting sessions of our ad hoc committee on athletics reclassification. And we're just putting the college in the best position to either capitalize on an opportunity or to say that, you know what, we explored it and it just didn't make sense right now. I think when you look at that document, we bring up positives and negatives, but there is a lean within the committee and within that document to say that, hey, this is something exciting. We feel like there are many exciting elements to this potential scenario, and we want to hear more feedback, but this is why we're excited about the process and what could be lying ahead for LeMoyne.
To the people that haven't read the document or have only read pieces of it, what are those exciting opportunities for LeMoyne? What are those pillars that you think could really turn into a special foundation of the future? What is it about Division I that right now for LeMoyne is enticing?
Great question, Dan. And it's not so much about what isn't enticing now. I think it's more about growth and how we position LeMoyne College for success over the next 2 and 3 decades. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at this as potentially a growth strategy for the institution, not just athletics. Athletics would be the vehicle for which we use this great opportunity for growth. I think it's very compelling for us to think about having the opportunity to spotlight our institution on the largest stage in college athletics, which would be the Division I level. I think the potential of a geographic footprint, being able to expand where our teams play in some very desirable regions of the state and the country, that's exciting to us. I think we all understand that we need to grow our footprint, and the opportunity to add exposure and shine that spotlight on the school and talk about all the great things that are happening here academically and how we play such a large role in our community. All those things are really appealing to us. If you read the document, it outlines certain elements that we studied over the past several months as a committee, everything from academics to financial impact, student experience, student athlete experience, how this would affect our nation mission, the climate on campus, how our student athletes interact in the community, engagement, visibility of the institution. These are all things that are highlighted in the document, in the report. And quite candidly, the majority of the feedback on each one of those elements, we find very exciting opportunities that could lie at the Division I level for the institution, not just for our student athletes. And when you talk about the student athlete experience, I do feel like our student athletes want to be challenged at the highest level. You know, we're a Jesuit institution. One of our values is magis, and we have this restlessness with the status quo, and we do feel that we need to position ourselves for growth. And I think that this would be a fantastic opportunity for growth to set the college up for a great future some exciting times ahead. And I think our student athletes want to be challenged at the highest level. And while I've stated this several times, there's not a great difference between the talent levels at Division II and Division I. Division I still is widely accepted as the highest level of competition at the collegiate level. And I think our student athletes would embrace that challenge.
Speaking here with Bob Beretta, the athletics director of LeMoyne College, in this very special AD and DT, setting the record straight on LeMoyne's current place in realignment and reclassification. Bob, you said a lot of different things, all different pieces of this process and what's been given very clearly and precisely in this document. One of the things I wanted to get into was the discernment process, like you said, of 25 plus meetings and having different members responsible for different things. The collegiate consultants with a benchmark study that reviewed LeMoyne's current athletic configuration and various options for reclassification, and then looking at Joe Grasso and Vice President for Finance, Tim Lee, Vice President for Enrollment Management, Bill Brower, Vice President for Advancement, and all of these different things that you had to do, the ad hoc committee consulting with Stonehill and Merrimack, who came from the NE10 and spoke with them on their move and what that's done, what President Dr. Linda Lemura have done. Just what you could say about in this discernment process and all of these meetings and different things that have happened as you've gathered this information together. There are so many people focusing on specific areas to really break this down that, you talk about discernment, and there's decision making and there's discernment. Discernment to me is a deeper decision making, a lasagna, so to speak, of decision making, where there are so many layers to this, to have different people working on different things, coming together and sitting together and showing their findings, just what all of this process has done for LeMoyne College, whether you stay in Division II or move to Division I, the due diligence that you've all taken to really understand every element of this and to not leave any stone unturned.
Dan, I've been so impressed with the dedication and the diligence of the work of this committee and the individuals on this committee. It's a very complex topic, as we touched on some of the issues that we've had to consider. And we brought subject matter experts in each of those. We brought in Tim Lee as the VP of Enrollment Management, as you stated earlier. Joe Grasso, our CFO. We brought our chief economist on campus, Wayne Grove, one of our highly esteemed faculty members, who's really looked at this from an economical standpoint and where is the ROI? Does it make sense? And how we explain this and discuss it in a community setting. So we have been painstakingly aware of the fact that this is a very complex situation, and we wanted to involve as many voices as possible, experts in each one of these areas. Dr. Margie Ernlin, who's one of our top sports marketing professors here on campus, she's been involved. Martha Grabowski and Kathy Forbush, a member of the faculty and a member of the trustee, respectively. We've done a literature review to see what other work has been out there to see how it affects college campuses, those institutions that have recently reclassified. So I appreciate the fact that you've dived into that document and appreciate from where you sit the due diligence that's taken place. This hasn't been a haphazard one meeting and discuss it and let's go. It's not that at all. We have won, and I think we've taken great pains to make sure that we listen to subject matter experts on both sides of the topic. I have been so impressed that these folks in our ecosystem, the highest people at the institution in terms of leadership, from the president to the provost to some of our top faculty members, our current board of trustees chair, our recent past board of trustees chair, several members of the trustees and faculty. We've all gathered 26 times, and I can tell you that there have been very rare instances where someone has missed a committee meeting. It hasn't been, well, the president's on the committee and she's been the three of them. No, President Lemura has been to every one of those sessions. Maybe she missed one if she was out of time. I can tell you there's times where she's had conflicts and she's broken out of a conflict meeting off campus and joined us via Zoom on her phone. So it's been that level of commitment and dedication. And I think we've been very careful to not put the cart before the horse and make a decision without a discernment. And I think that's what was disappointing most about the report yesterday, Dan, is it painted us in a really poor position, and I think an unfair position that we've made this decision, because then this process would be a farce, and it's anything but a farce. We have been so dedicated to the process of not making it. Our committee hasn't voted. We haven't voted because we are waiting to listen to all the voices. Now, when you go through 26 meetings, certainly opinions begin to become formed, and I believe that there are many members, myself included, that have a formed opinion right now. But it doesn't mean that opinion can't change based on feedback. And that's what was disappointing yesterday, and that it made it look like that the process that we're going was anything less than credible. And I believe it is a very credible process. And we could ultimately, as a committee, recommend reclassification, but we're not there right now. We're not there yet. And we might be there within a couple of weeks after this community discussion period ceases. But again, I think that is irresponsible to report that we've already reached that conclusion, because we have not.
Coming from LeMoyne Athletics Director Bob Beretta this morning, live and exclusive on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and setting the record straight this morning. Bob, one of the things that I would love to dive into from the document, the financial implications. You and I spoke about it a bit through this process, but to really look at what you would have to do. And then I know that there's a piece of this where the conferences that you thought would align with LeMoyne if you did receive an invitation, and if you did ultimately decide that you would like to reclassify to Division I, that you're comparable to the NEC as well as the MAC, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, and the NEC being the Northeast Conference, to look at the financial implications of what LeMoyne would have to endure to make a move like this, and then to also speak to where you feel you line up with Division I conferences like the NEC and the MAC, because you really broke down the numbers, and in a lot of cases, not only are you head and shoulders above the NE10 as far as different pieces of that financial side of things, but you are also in other places with the MAC and the NEC above some of the things that would be asked of you there, which again shows the due diligence of doing your homework and research as a committee and seeing that financially this is what it would cost us, but financially this is what we look like.
Absolutely, Dan. We have a plan. And again, I think the fact that we're even in position to consider such a move is a great tribute to the leadership of this institution, of President Lemura, the members of our cabinet, our leadership. And over the years, we've practiced great fiscal responsibility. And I think the fact that we're even in position to discuss this type of move is a tribute to that. And it shows that the resiliency of the institution coming out of COVID and where we stand, the stability where we are financially. Higher education is a tough business right now. It's a very competitive place. And, you look at some first year admittance numbers across the country, and particularly in the Northeast, and there are schools that miss their first year average or goal by multiple hundreds of students. We're at a place here at LeMoyne where we reached our goal. We exceeded our goal. And instead of thinking about how do we just kind of maintain those numbers, President Lemura has charged us with a march to 700. So instead of bringing in a class of 630, we're looking to try to bring in a class of 700. And a reclassification to Division I could play a large role in that strategic growth. We're talking about potentially adding numbers to our rosters. We can't do that in a lot of cases right now because our athletic facility limits our team locker room space, quite honestly. We have one team in particular that would like, this is an example, we have several like this, but I'll give you one example, would like to carry 28 individuals on the roster, but we only have locker room space for 20 for that team. So they can't carry 28. So we're looking at some infrastructural enhancements, some facility enhancements that would help us grow. And again, if you look to grow rosters in that space, those student athletes, many of them will be paying a portion of their net tuition to come to LeMoyne. They won't all be on full ride scholarships. Very few student athletes here are. So when you bring in student athletes, that helps the composition of your first year class. It helps the fiscal numbers of the institution. So roster growth is a part of this. We feel like potentially a Division I classification could really spike interest in our program and in our institution and help us grow those roster numbers. Another big part of this is we shifted club sports and recreation under athletics this summer, and that's under our purview now. And one of the things we're looking to do is energize that program on campus. We've added 4 club sports already for this year. Now we'll have to gauge interest level, and it's new, and we'll see. But over the next X amount of time, we've committed to adding these 4 sports in as quickly as potentially this year or next year. I think in the future you're going to see that area invigorated. We've floated some ideas and some thoughts of how we could really expand on that program, and we think that will interest students in LeMoyne that are interested in playing athletics at a high level, but maybe not at a Division I or Division II level. You and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on one of our previous sessions of AD&T and DT, and it's all part of this larger growth strategy. And certainly, if we were to increase our first-year admittance, that would help offset some of the costs that we're talking about that would be required in a reclassification to Division I. The document states that we estimate that the net cost annually could be a minimum of, or I should say a maximum in the $2.2 to $2.3 million range. A lot of that number is in scholarships that we were saying that, hey, if we reclassify, we need to increase our investment level in athletic scholarships. So a great majority of that 2.2, 2.3 numbers is in scholarships. Yeah. It's not we're spending more money on things or trips. Certainly, we know that we're going to need to increase our staff. Certainly, we know that we're going to need to increase our coaching staff and our administrative staff, and we'll need to expand certain budgets in recruiting and maybe some other areas. But the great preponderance of that number is wrapped up in athletic scholarships. So I feel like there's a multi-pronged plan in place to help meet that goal or that need. And we've talked about increased corporate sponsorship, and we've done a great job. I think we've quadrupled in the last 18 months our corporate sponsorship from where we were 2 years ago. I think a big part of this would be philanthropy in terms of private giving. We've talked to donors over the years that we call them one-issue voters that are really interested in supporting the college, but only if athletics were to reclassify to Division I. So we're going and having meetings and serious discussions with those constituents and saying, hey, if we do this, would you be willing to support our student athletes in a move? Because we need your help. We need to help meet that increased investment level that would be required at the Division I level.
That coming here from LeMoyne Athletics Director Bob Beretta in this special AD and DT live on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Bob, we're going to cover, as we have done for many months now, in this chronicled exclusive series that we've had, where we were first to the reclassification and realignment conversation, obviously sitting down with you and having that discussion. And we've done consistent updates over many months here, and also sat down with President Dr. Linda Lemura. We're going to continue breaking down this document and looking at different pieces of it, as we have done for many months now. And I appreciate the fact that LeMoyne and yourself, as well as Linda and everyone, has entrusted me with the opportunity to do this and to do things the right way. There's a lot of things in this document to break down that, we will expand upon over the coming weeks. But as you said, and we've said many, many times, the final thing that is here, besides the actual conference maps itself and the ad hoc committee on athletics reclassification, it says next steps, and it's a very simple sentence. It says, in the coming weeks, the ad hoc committee will present President Lemura with its recommendations regarding a possible reclassification to Division I. Should an invitation from a Division I conference be extended at any point to the college at that time, the Board of Trustees will vote on whether to change our NCAA classification. Like you said, you may be weeks away, potentially months away, that there is a process here of the ad hoc committee making a decision, presenting that decision to Dr. Linda Lemura, who is a part of that committee, and then she has to go, as she said in my sit-down conversation with her that you can watch with anything in the series on the LeMoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. she said, then once I make my decision, Dan, then I have to go to the Board of Trustees, and Board of Trustees from there will make the decision. So just to speak of the process of this, and I know that Linda said that in our conversation, she's like, obviously we haven't made a decision, but it seems like we're leaning at potentially going Division One. You and I have talked about that lean, but that this process is going to ultimately end with the Board of Trustees.
Without question, Dan, and that's a great point. And I think it's fair to say that the committee at this moment of time, at 9:30 on September 29th, the committee is leaning towards a recommendation to reclassify. But that lean could change based on feedback that we continue to receive. We haven't voted. When you meet over the course of several months and 26 meetings, you start to hear voices and opinions, and I can say, I think with a great degree of certainty, that there's tremendous support on the committee to reclassify at this moment in time. And then the Board of Trustees could have a completely different lean on this. They might think 180 degrees differently. So it is very premature to state that a decision is made. I think because we've been so transparent that it allows media members or outside folks to take a look and say, oh, well, it's a done deal. We could have been very secretive in this process and not said anything until the Board of Trustees were to vote and say, hey, this is where it's at. But that's not who we are. We are a very inclusive community, a very inclusive institution, and we're steered by our Jesuit values, and that's all about community and service, and that's who we are. And it doesn't mean that we can't explore and want more, and that's what we're doing right now. We're just, I think, taking great efforts to make sure that we do what's right for this institution long term. And as the president said in her words, it would be malpractice on her part if she didn't explore this as the president of this institution right now. But the process is a legitimate process, and you outlined it very eloquently and very accurately. That's kind of where we stand right now. But it's been impressive that we've taken advantage of the gift of time that we've had, because we could have just halted discussions in the summer and said this might not happen, and if it looks like it might, we can get together and meet a couple times in September. But it speaks to the leadership of this institution that said we are going to use this time effectively and efficiently, and we are going to be dedicated to this process, and we're going to meet all summer long, and we're going to have an extended discernment, not just a decision, but a discernment. And you accurately portrayed that as well. A discernment is different than a decision. A discernment is a deep dive into how all areas could be affected, and is this truly the right move for this institution long term? It's not just a decision and a vote. A decision will come after this lengthy discernment period. So I've been really impressed with that discernment process. My first exposure to it here has been at LeMoyne, and there's been several discernments that I've been part of, and this has been so impressive to see our leadership and how important it is to our Board of Trustees that are on our committee, that are members of the committee, that we do exhaustively discuss and review every element, every point of feedback. We've had 16 members, I think, on that committee. It started with 12, and we added some other subject matter experts, and to listen to those voices and really discern what they're saying from every different angle. And maybe it wasn't supportive of a personal opinion, but it's been so refreshing that no one has let an agenda block any of what is the greater good, of what's in play for the greater good. So that's been really refreshing for me, and it's allowed me tremendous insight into who we are as an institution and why this special place on the Heights has been so successful, and why people are so passionate about it. This process has only strengthened that view in my eyes.
And before we close on this live conversation with LeMoyne College Athletics Director Bob Beretta with a very special AD and DT on realignment and reclassification, clearing the air and letting you know the facts versus the misinformation that's out there about LeMoyne College. The Ignatian mission, you spoke about that. We have spoken at length, and you and I have spoken on and off the air about it. Dr. Linda Lemira and I have spoken on and off the air about the Ignatian mission and what it means to be a Jesuit institution, less than 30 around the country. What has that meant to you in this whole process, and how does this play into the process? Because, you know, you and I have spoken about it many times that when there's a look at realignment and reclassification, everybody looks to sports. It's sports, 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 and they don't look at the student side of things, the academic side of things. You and I have talked about health and wellness, mental health. We've done a lot with that and what's happening on the Heights at LeMoyne College, and the spirit. So to go into those elements of it, and that for LeMoyne, it's not just speak. It's not just a conversation of this not being a realistic thing, but that it goes far beyond the world of sports to have these conversations and to look at the spirit, to look at the Jesuit side of things, and to really make sure that the entire person is being included in a decision-making process like this and not just spoken about as lip service, so to speak.
No, it's real, Dan. It is. And, it's so refreshing we have so many graduates on our board of trustees that are involved in this process. And it's important. It's important to every member that's tied to the institution that we do this right. They take it very seriously. And it's not just, hey, this is my opinion and this is what we should do. It's listening. It's being an active listener. The emphasis is placed on everyone having a voice and our committee listening to those counter opinions sometimes and trying to understand. We've had some committee members that have taken the role of devil's advocate and talked on the opposite side maybe of someone to just try to invigorate that conversation and dive deep into the discussion. So it's been refreshing. It really has to go through this type of process. But I think what is so rewarding is everything that I heard about prior to arriving at LeMoyne has been proven and reinforced to me during this process, because we don't just put mantras on the wall and mottos on the wall. We live those every single day. We live our Jesuit values. We live excellence with integrity. We live greatness meets goodness every single day. And this process has been a great example of that. And we've been so transparent with 5 open fora and 2 for students and 2 for the parent. We're listening to everyone. And it's not a foregone conclusion. This wasn't a quid pro quo and a walk, just kind of a walk in eye candy, right? And eye wash, and let's have a committee, but the decision is made. It's been anything but that. And I think this process has been a true representation of what the Ignatian mission is all about. It's service, and how can we best position our institution for greatness moving forward. And we're all so much of what we base our everyday decision making on is excellence, and how we can be excellent. How can we provide an excellent experience for all of our stakeholders, our students, our student athletes, our faculty, our staff, all those things. And those are elements that we've talked about. That's why we've met 26 times. If we were just talking about this in a vacuum and how it would affect our athletic program, maybe we'd have met a handful of times, 4 or 5 times. But because this has been such an extensive review of how every element is connected to our campus, that's why we've met 26 times. If you look at that document, it's highlighted all these different elements. And we had extensive dialogue on each one of those topics. And if you start thinking about that level of granular discussion on that many topics, you can see why we met 26 times. It has not been taken lightly. And I think it's a true representation of what a discernment truly is. And also about what our Ignatian values, our Jesuit values of including as many people in the process, listening to as many voices, men and women with and for others, all those things that I could list here, but they've been symbolic of this process.
And a note here, looking at all of this, the visibility of the institution in the document right before it says next steps, something that we've spoken about as well as you've gone through this discernment process, looking at something that you and I have talked about months ago, which was, where you are in the NE10 right now and being a New England-based conference, where are these, kind of regional opponents? And when you look at the NEC and you say, okay, you have Sacred Heart, Long Island University, Wagner, Fairleigh Dickinson, Stonehill, and Merrimack, who you had Stonehill and Merrimack inside of the NE10. Previously, Merrimack making the move a few years ago, Stonehill just making the move to Division I, reclassifying from the NE10 to the NEC. And when you look at the MAC, Marist, Siena, Canisius, Niagara, Iona, Manhattan, looking at teams like that you would be playing in a very close area. And you talk about cost and financially what it would ask you to do. Some of these bus trips are going to be shortened now. Some of the costs that you have currently would go down with having more of these schools closer by. Also including the fact that you have the Colgates, Cornells, St. Bonaventure, Binghamtons, Albany's, Buffalo, Army, West Point, Syracuse, that are right there for non-conference play. And then we look at the Jesuit institutions: Holy Cross, Xavier, Gonzaga, Georgetown, Creighton, St. Peter's, Fordham, Fairfield, Boston College, Marquette, St. Louis, Loyola Maryland, Loyola Chicago. All of these pieces, when you talk about what looks enticing, you have all these Jesuit institutions that you could play non-conference. You have all of these New York schools you could play non-conference, some of them right down the road or an hour or two away. On top of all of that, if it be the MAC or the NEC per se, you have within it these shorter trips. So as we talk about increasing money and different things you're going to have to raise, you're also decreasing some costs of travel and building immediate rivalries that could generate money itself. So you're spending money, but in this decision to potentially reclassify and realign, you're going to be saving money and going down new roads and new avenues to bring in revenue that you didn't have before.
That's a great point, Dan. And we've talked about the wear and tear of our student athletes. Right now, the geographic footprint doesn't favor LeMoyne in the NE10. That's just the fact. We're an outlier geographically. And outside of a trip to St. Rose, most of our travel trips are 5+ hours away. And that puts a lot of academic strain on our student athletes. I think right now we have 11 trips that are 4 hours or more currently. And I think that number would shrink considerably if it was the MAC or the NEC. That non-conference inventory, I talk about it often, and I think that is so important to this discussion that right now we have to travel a far distance to play the majority of our non-conference games because there's not a great volume of Division II inventory in our region. If we were to reclassify to Division I, we would now be able to play schools like SU and Colgate and Cornell and Bonaventure and Army and all those that you just listed on a regular basis and form geographic rivalries that right now we can't enjoy. I think the opportunity to showcase our institution in a different geographic region that we find very appealing, extremely desirable, whether that's the New York metropolitan area. LeMoyne has long held a footprint down there. I think that it has shrunk a little bit here in recent years. We find that really appealing. That's exciting to think about, being able to showcase our institution down in that region where we have so many of our alums and so many prospective students, not just student athletes, but students. And that is extremely desirable for the institution as well. So it's all part of this growth strategy. It's not siloed in athletics. It's everything that we've talked about affects every element of campus, and we haven't taken it lightly. But there are some savings in this as well, from a travel, from a cost, from the wear and tear of our student athletes, and certainly the everyday experience of our student athletes being able to go on a daily basis and play in venues like SU or Colgate or Cornell. I think it's a very different experience than right now, that they see on a daily basis right now.
That coming from LeMoyne College Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, inside of this edition of AD and DT, setting the record straight on LeMoyne College's realignment, reclassification conversation, where they're at currently in the process, the fact that this process needs to be respected. The whole time we've been talking, I've just been thinking of three words that you hear all the time: respect the process. So, this process, all of the time and energy that you have spent to make sure that this process, whatever is decided, is a process of much discernment and making sure that as many people are heard as can be heard, and that you do have those devil's advocates to show you the other side of what things could look like. I mean, I can say this: I have never been a part of a process of any stretch of the imagination like this, and to see the work that you've put in as a college, as an institution, through many, many months, it is beyond a reputable thing to go back and look at, and just respecting all throughout this process what you have done, how you have done it, and the strain that it's taken, because everybody has jobs, everybody has things you're doing, you have a lot of things on your plate. So to add this to that, and to make sure that everybody is given time, like you said, Dr. Lemura, jumping on her phone if she's out of town to get to a meeting, it really says a lot about LeMoyne College, things I already knew, but now hopefully people around the world from this conversation know that, and hopefully they understand that this record is now the current record, the record straight, and we will move forward here with LeMoyne College. And you can be sure, as from the beginning, that if and when anything happens, I will be on the screen with Bob, more than likely sitting in a room somewhere, and Dr. Linda Lemura always involved as well. So, Bob, I want to thank you. I want to thank Linda. I want to thank, like I said, everyone at LeMoyne for this process and for involving me in the process. And I want to thank you this morning for giving me the opportunity to bring you onto the air so that we can clear the air and set the record straight and make sure that LeMoyne's story is not tarnished, not tainted, not misrepresented, because that would be an egregious party foul. As we know in life, there are a lot of things in social media that are not true, and LeMoyne College, for all the work you put in, you deserve to have that work respected and well represented. So I appreciate you letting me do that today.
Well, Dan, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for the platform and the opportunity to discuss this and being so invested in this process. But thank you for the morals and ethics you display every day in your work. And you are a professional, and to give us the opportunity to talk facts and the fact that you report facts. And we're very, very grateful for our relationship, and thank you for this opportunity. It means an awful lot to this institution. I talk about our Jesuit values. We want to partner with people that are like us, and we want to partner with people like you. So thank you. Before I leave, I do just want to pass along our thoughts and prayers to all those in Hurricane Ian's path. I know you have many followers, and we have many folks from central New York that are relocated down into the Florida space, and our thoughts and prayers are with you all.
Yeah, thank you for that too. And we will be featuring another dad to me, Papa Joe, who will be joining the show momentarily. So we do send our prayers and our well wishes to everybody in the path of Hurricane Ian. And I ask God, as always, to take that beautiful, wonderful, giant hand of his and move that back into the ocean and away from everybody. Bob, as always, thank you for everything that you've done. And it shows your character, your morals, and your values that we end with a prayer down to everybody that needs it. So thank you for that, as always, and thank you for your professionalism and your time. And I have to say this because we can't end a conversation without it. Fins up.
Fins up, Dan. Thanks again for the opportunity. Have a great day, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Sounds perfect. Take care. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavocollis.com. That's myAVICOLLIS.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skinny Atlas, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skinny Atlas Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Always happy to be hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. I hope you're all having a great morning this morning. I know that some of you are having a better morning than others because of this terrible storm, Ian, that has found its way into Florida and is moving around Florida right now. You know that Bob Beretta was just here setting the record straight on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, about realignment and reclassification. We appreciate Bob for coming here and setting the record straight, as we thought we had over the past many months of having all these exclusive broadcasts. and we had to definitely put out the right information again today. And I appreciate Bob for joining me, and Bob ending the conversation by sending prayers and well wishes and good thoughts, happy thoughts to the people down in Florida, and mentioning that we have a lot of followers and support down there, and I'm very grateful for everybody that I do have. I mentioned a lot of you put a video up on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, and on my personal Facebook page put up a video to many of the families down there. It is my second home. I connected with the Jacksonville Jaguars, deeply connected with them, with Disney, with Orlando, with so many friends and family. Two of my nieces down there, my dad, Papa Joe, my other mom, Miss Mary T, my brother, my older brother, Joey, that hellion of a cat, Boom Boom, and and that nice, sweet, gentle cat in Marissa. But there's so many people that are connected to my heart down in Florida. It is my second home. I've considered going down there and punching Ian in the mouth myself, and I am so grateful for Bob's words there, because of the connection that LeMoyne has beyond down there, and the people that we have. So many people down in Florida, many people that are snowbirds, right, are relocating from Central and Upstate New York down to the Floridian territory. So our prayers and our well wishes are with everybody. My heart is with everyone, and I am deeply concerned and hopeful that everything turns out okay. Reached out to a lot of people, got all positive messages back so far, and I hope that continues, because I love you all deeply, and I care for you all deeply, as you all know. So with that being said, Papa Joe, we welcome you to the show. PJ is in St. Augustine right now, and I was just there. We just did our show together last week. We did our show on the beginning of the week together, which is pretty crazy to think with the way that things currently are right now. But I'm so happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're on the show, and I'm happy we get to talk. So with that being said, let's bring in PJ. Papa Joe, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, Daniel. Thank you for all your hearts and prayers, and to the LeMoyne AD. Well, there's not much left to be said if you watch TVs, watch the weather channels, and hear these kind of things. These storms come by not very often, but when they do, they're just catastrophic. We're very fortunate. I think we're going to dodge a real serious bullet here, because for some reason the storm went through Central Florida, and instead of veering north, it veered east for a little bit, and it put it off the coast. It's almost off the coast of Daytona, and of course they're going to have we're all having rain and wind. I mean, that goes with the outer bands are so large that you're all caught in it, and it looks like it's going to head northwest again, but it's going to go right around St. Augustine. I don't know if God had something to do with that, but it sure looked like it. I mean, if you looked at all the spaghettis from 2 weeks ago, we're right in the path, and unexpectedly, it just veers off east, goes into the ocean again. It's regenerating ashore, and then it's going to turn northwest into maybe north of Jacksonville and into Orlando or into Georgia. It's a very unsettling feeling when you have something like this come through you. I am definitely afraid of water. I'm not afraid. I'm proud to say that I am. I don't much care for water that much. And to see the oceans rear up their ugly head like this and just come flooding ashore on the west coast by Fort Peters, Fort Myers, and Daytona, Tampa, St. Pete, it just, and they don't stop, they just keeps going and going and going, and you're thinking, where's the sun? We're okay here. We have, Joe and I did our hurricane shutters yesterday or 2 days ago, and that's a real boon for this house to have the hurricane shutters, let me tell you. And he's doing okay, and we're doing okay. It's just that we can't do anything, can't go anywhere, can't see anyone until this thing is at least exhausted, and we're into the outer bands. When the outer bands start coming, then we can see some light at the end of the tunnel. But I don't believe that it's going to happen until maybe Friday noon, maybe Friday night, or even Saturday. It was a slow moving storm. It came ashore at 7 miles an hour, and it's moving very, very slowly. And it hit the West Coast at 145 mile an hour winds, and not too much is going to be standing after 145 mile an hour winds. Over here right now, it's a 65 mile an hour winds, and it's, as I stated earlier, it's regenerating itself in the Atlantic Ocean right off of Daytona, and then it's going to go wherever it wants to go. So I'm happy we're here. I'm happy we have power. Thank goodness. And we actually have TV now, so that's a good sign. So other than Aaron Judge hitting a 61st home, I have nothing to say.
And big thanks to William Pagan this morning. Thanks for your positivity and love and light. Thank you to Kevin Gagan as well for your words this morning. I want to note that. But yeah, I mean, listen, you had said this to me last night, and I know, you say it jokingly, but seriously, you said, hey, call me in the morning for the show. If I don't answer, then it's bad. If I do answer, then we're okay. And as much as we talk about that, saying like, oh, everything will be fine, it does make, it obviously makes me get concerned and want to make sure that you're okay. I'm happy to know that, obviously you and Miss Mary are doing your thing, and you're here with us this morning, and we're praying for everybody, because everyone on, West Coast, East Coast of Florida, all throughout, family and friends all over the great state of Florida. And, just want to make sure everybody is absolutely and positively okay by every stretch of the imagination. So have you checked in with anybody, PJ? What are they saying about maybe some other areas down there? Has it been as bad as they said it was going to be, or where are we with all this?
I don't think they've assessed the situation yet. Governor DeSantis has been on TV several times. He's taken a leadership role here, which he should do. And it was shortly before it really started fussing up that the St. Johns County district here, St. Augustine, they gave an evacuation order for the beaches. And when that happens, you're looking at a real big storm surge and a lot of wind and rain. So as far as I know, that the smart people have evacuated the beaches here and will come back home when it's said to be done. Getting back to Governor DeSantis, he hasn't toured the area yet. I'm sure it's just too tender right now. I'm looking at Port Charlotte, Jim Cantori on the Weather Channel, he's out in the sun. So I imagine there's going to be some reports about the devastation that occurred and how much did or what happened. There's a couple counties that were actually off the grid. There was Charlotte and Lee counties were off the grid. No one could find them. So I'm happy that at least there's some semblance of organization down there, and Mr. Cantori has given a good account of what's happening. And I can't hear him right now, but I'm sure it's let's hope it's a good report and not a bad report, because these kind of storms, not only do they cause wind and water damage, it's the devastation that occurs when it happens. These storms can rip off a roof at 125 miles an hour wind, and here we're talking at 100 and what? 100 up. As soon as we talked, we just lost power. Daniel, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Lost power.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm here.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go for as long as I can before the power taps me here. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. So,
Okay.
You guys okay?
Yeah, we don't have power.
So we have PJ here with us. PJ, obviously, as we are as this develops in the moment, we're here this morning with Papa Joe as he is down in the great state of Florida in the Sunshine State and had power this morning, just lost power this morning, and we'll hopefully get it back as we were talking on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the PJ Takeover with Papa Joe, and a lot of things to get into here. So, PJ, let's get into baseball and let's talk about that. Hopefully, power will come back on here very soon, and we'll ride it through with you as long as we need to. Aaron Judge, through all of this going on, he hits number 61. He hits it in Canada, in Toronto, in international waters, I guess you would say, but hits number 61, 61 years after Roger Maris hit 61, a fellow Yankee, all too poetic. It's funny how sports just works out. There's story after story after story like this where it just makes sense. 61 years later, hit 61. Roger Maris is a Yankee. Aaron Judge is a Yankee. Your thoughts on number 61 last night?
Oh, it was special to watch. I mean, Joe and I have been watching it for a week, after he hit number 60, and he went into a little mini slump. But when situations like this occur, the opposing teams and the opposing pitchers do not want to be noted as the one who gave up the big home run. And with that being said, Toronto just never pitched to the guy. A couple nights ago, there was 4 walks. And the night before they had 2 walks. And, if you don't get a good pitch to hit, you can't swing. And last night they had them buffaloed until the Yankees, I think Toronto tied to score 3-3, and then they brought in another reliever, a lefty. And I think that perked up Aaron Judge, because he likes to see lefties. Not lefties that bend the ball, but lefties with a tailing fastball. And he got a hold of it and hit it, let out. Everyone knew it was gone. So, you go through the cheers and the celebration and all the hugs and stuff like that. And the Toronto people were fabulous. They just, they're still standing. They were standing and yelling for a half hour later.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. I go back to the days with Roger Maris, of course, because I'm young, I'm old now, but back when Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris were playing, what he did was, a monumental effort, beating the Big Babe. To talk about the other sluggers, quote unquote, that came through, the Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and numbnuts Barry Bonds there. To me, they shouldn't get any credit whatsoever for hitting home runs. We all knew what was done in the steroid area. I mean, these guys look like they're middle linebackers, including Bonds, who was a skinny creep before he started taking drugs. All of a sudden, he goes into a world beater. So, anyway, those 3 gentlemen, to me, shouldn't be noted at all. And the Yankee record is 60. It belongs to Aaron Judge now. Now, Judge has got, 7 or 8 more games to play, or 9 games, and he can add to it if he'd like, or maybe they'll sit him down for a while and wait for the playoffs. But I don't know. The Roger Maris Jr. was really gave a nice speech last night, and his mother, Aaron Judge's mother, was there. A lot of people don't know about Aaron Judge. He was an adopted baby. When he was 1 day old, he was adopted by 2 teachers in Linden, California, I believe. And they didn't realize how big he was going to get. So he wound up playing baseball for Fresno State. Met his current wife over there. He's a happy married man with some little bambinos running around. Aaron Judge is fearsome at the plate. He is so big and so strong that he can flick an outside curveball and hit it over the right field fence. That's how strong he is. And he doesn't need a lot. I mean, he's pulverized balls 475 feet, but he's also hit them down the right field line in Yankee Stadium, which is only 315. So, he's just, you can't pitch to the guy. He's in, if probably throw high heat, you'll get him out, maybe a pop-up or something, but don't try to challenge him, because he'll get it. He's been doing this for a long time. I mean, he was the Yankee Player of the Year in the minor leagues before he came up here. So kudos to him. I'm glad the Yankees finally clinched the pennant. We don't have to talk a lot about the teams anymore, because most everything looks like it's being clinched. But we can go over that in a little bit.
Yeah, taking a look at this here with Papa Joe this morning, following our exclusive special in a series of exclusives with Bob Beretta to chronicle everything that's going on with LeMoyne College reclassification and realignment. A decision has not been made. They are weeks away, if not months away from that, and we have carried this for many, many months, dating back to last year and going through the process of all of this. So many thanks to Bob Beretta, Dr. Linda Lemura, and everyone at LeMoyne for helping to set the record straight here on what's going on in that sense of things. And then speaking of records, to go back to Aaron Judge, PJ, what do you think? If you're the Yankees, do you let him play out these last, bunch of games before the playoffs? You know you're going to make the playoffs. You know what you clinched. You know what you've done. Do you let him go for number 62?
Yes, you let them play, because these guys, they have tremendous hand-eye coordination, and you just can't sit them down for 2 or 3 days and expect for them to come back and wing the ball. It can't happen. Sure, they take batting practice, but they're taking batting practice with a ball that goes 65 miles an hour. You got to be able to in there. You got to face the heat. You got to face the curveballs, the sliders, the changeups. You got to be baseball ready, and he should continue playing until he can't play baseball for the rest of the year. They either get eliminated or they win the World Series. You got to play them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think without any stretch of the imagination, you have to play him. Let him get 62. Let him do it. I know you and I were talking last night, and you were very upset at the fact that they continue to walk him, and they were the Jays were kind of just letting it go here, and you were saying just pitch to the man, get it done, and let it go. So, to that side of it for you, obviously nobody wants to be the pitcher that he hits, the record-tying 61 or the record-setting 62 off of. But, I don't know. I guess, what are your words as a baseball Puritan? How do you see that when these pitchers don't want to pitch to him because they don't want to be that part of history? How do you look at it?
Oh, geez. We're sitting watching games, and they're walking them. And the other night, he walked the fourth time. I says, pitch to the friggin' guy, for crying out loud. Get it over with, for crying out loud. He's going to hit it anyway, so get it off you with a 0-0 game, and then go back and try to win the game yourself. But Toronto was playing smart, and their pitchers were told what to do. Look, these guys know how to pitch. At this time of the year, every pitcher knows how to pitch to every guy in every lineup. They got all these little cards and little cheating things that they use. They put them in their hat and take them out and look at them and figure that out. They know how to pitch Aaron Judge or any slugger, really. You don't leave a fastball over the plate, but he did it, and I'm happy for him. And I'm glad that the Yankees are now the Eastern Conference champions. And from there, I'm sure they're gonna play Toronto again if Toronto keeps going. Toronto will make the playoffs. So things are really about set in baseball right now with the conference championships and the wild cards. Really, the only one that's really up for grabs is the Atlanta New York Mets.
Yeah, and looking at this and seeing, how the standings currently are right now, we look at the AL side of things, and the Houston Astros have clinched their division of the AL West. The Yankees have clinched the East, and the Cleveland Guardians / Indians / whatever you want to call them, the Cleveland team has clinched the Central of the American League, but nobody has clinched the best record overall. So that's still, we're still looking at this right now. Houston is at the top, then the Yankees, then Cleveland. If it started today, that's how we see it, 1, 2, and 3. Toronto would be the fourth team, which is the first wild card team. The second wild card team, Tampa Bay, which would be the fifth seed, and the sixth seed, Seattle Mariners, with the Baltimore Orioles, the only team not eliminated yet, which would put 4 out of 5 teams of the AL East into the playoffs, and all of them except for Boston, the Boston Red Sox, dipping off and have been eliminated as they are more than 10 games behind in the wild card race. Everybody else has been eliminated. The White Sox, the Twins, the Red Sox, the Angels, the Rangers, the Royals, the Tigers, and the Athletics. On the National League side of things, the Dodgers have clinched the top. They have the best record in baseball at 107 wins. The Yankees had the best record for a long time, and then the Dodgers, as they have been for the last few years, became that team that you can't ever sleep on, the sleeping giant, and once again, best record in baseball. And so we look at the Dodgers at the top. The Mets are currently in the lead. So the Dodgers have the NL West. The Mets don't have the East yet. The only division, and stop me if you haven't heard this before, copy and paste from last season. The only division that is not set in baseball, just like last year, is the National League East. The National League East, and it was like nobody wanted to win it last year, and teams are kind of bumbling forward toward it. Now, so many want to win it, but we're still in a situation where it's the only division that hasn't been declared up to this point. So the NL West, the Dodgers have. The Dodgers will stay the top team in the National League. The Mets are currently the second best team in the National League, but they have not won the division of the NL East. And then we have the St. Louis Cardinals have won the NL Central, and they are the third seed at the time. The Atlanta Braves have already clinched a spot in the wild card. They're the fourth team right now overall, but they are still in the running to win their division, as the Mets are 98-58 and the Atlanta Braves are 97-59. So they will follow each other arguably right till the end. The San Diego Padres have moved into fifth, and the Philadelphia Phillies would be the third team out of the NL East. And this has been something that, again, with copy and paste, you can take the many months that Papa Joe and I have spoken about the standings. 3 AL East teams, 3 NL East teams. If the playoffs had happened 2-3 months ago, they would have been in. And now it has stayed consistent. Shout out to these divisions for commanding and really holding on to everything here. The Milwaukee Brewers are still alive, though. They're a half a game behind the Phillies. The San Francisco Giants are mathematically still alive, 6.5 games back. And for the first time this season, I can announce, sadly, that the Arizona Diamondbacks are no longer still in the race for the wild card. They are 12 games back. The Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Marlins, the Cincinnati Reds, as well as the Pirates and the Nationals have all been eliminated. So, PJ, I just gave a rundown of the AL and the NL standings and wild card races. Give me your thoughts on where we stand with the 6 teams in the AL, the 6 teams in the NL, and that the Milwaukee Brewers are still alive, a half a game behind the Phillies.
The American League, I think, is going according to Hoyle. I am surprised at the way that the White Sox and the Twins sort of caved in coming down the stretch. Cleveland just played better than 500 ball, and they wind up with a 10 or 11 game lead, and they're going to win a division. Seattle certainly is going to be in, and so is Tampa Bay. So there's no chance of Baltimore or anyone. This is cut in stone. These 6 teams are going to play. We'll leave it at that. Now on your side, where you got the Mets and the Braves, that's going to be good to watch. I'm sure the ESPN and Major League Baseball channel that I have will show every game that they have. Milwaukee doesn't have a chance, Daniel. I love my Brewers. I love my Bros up there, but they've proved down the stretch they didn't have it. They have 2 teachers, Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, 2 pitchers. After that, it's nothing. The hitters are fair this year. Yelich, Shadow himself. It would be a miracle if Milwaukee can get there. I think that Philly plays better ball right now, and I think that they're probably going to be the other team in there. In Los Angeles, everyone's going to have to beat Los Angeles. So Los Angeles with good pitching and good hitting looks like they're going to be the World Series favorites. And with a little luck and a little good pitching, perhaps maybe we'll see a Subway Series. But I don't see that happening. I mean, the Yankees are fallible. They're not infallible. And the Dodgers can be beat, certainly, if you can beat them 2-1 or 3-2. Other than that, you really got to pitch well against the Dodgers, and you got to hold them to a couple of free hits and a couple of home runs, and hopefully you win a game and go on. It'll be exciting next week when we talk. It'll all be set out, I'm sure. The season will come to an end, and then it's time to talk about the individual awards. But the playoffs are going to be fun to watch, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting here. And to see, I know we've talked about it repeatedly, PJ, but to see the fact that as we are sitting here this morning, Thursday, September 29th at 10:21 in the morning, shout out my birthday, so October 21st. But looking at the fact that you and I for many months, what'd you say? Yeah, so we've covered baseball all the way through. We cut, and it's hard to believe. It seems like years ago, many months ago, maybe it was a distant nightmare that baseball almost didn't happen this season. To be where we are now, PJ, what are your thoughts on the fact that we started this season off not knowing if there was going to be a season? So reflecting on that. And then secondly, to reflect on the fact that for many months we've talked about the AL East and the NL East, and here we are today, and these teams have they've all held serve, and they have been consistently just dominating both of their leagues.
They have. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay. It's pretty squirrely around here. It's pitch black. I can't see what I'm talking. I can't see what I'm seeing. Mary's scurrying about, putting candles everywhere. And when I hear a dead spot, I think that I lost you. But no, it's everything. We prognosticated this beginning of the season. I figured that the Dodgers and the Yankees would be above, and I think that's probably going to happen. But Houston is a team that plays well because of a good manager, a Hall of Fame manager, Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker was a good player when he played, and he's a better manager. So he's got the pieces that can upset the whole thing. Now, on the National League side, I don't. The Mets and Atlanta are going to have to play lights out to beat the Dodgers to wind up into the. Especially if we have a chance to see or watch our Subway Series. I've enjoyed the season so far. I'm really not into individual stats because these guys are so much different athletes than players 30, 40 years ago, including Roger Maris. I mean, Roger Maris used to come up to bat with his short sleeves on to show his muscles on his arm. That alone frightened the pitchers. So they're just better. They're better athletes now. They're bigger. They're faster. They're stronger. They can hit the ball farther. They can run. Mike Trout can jump over the fence and catch a ball. By the way, he went yard last night again too, and he is second in the league behind Aaron Judge, and he's only got 38 homers. So that's how dominant Aaron Judge was. It's going to be fun to watch. I want to see. I've always professed this to you and our listeners that you win pennants, you win World Series on pitching and defense, and this is not going to change at all. The Mets, Atlanta, and L.A. have got good pitching. I can't say that about the Yankees and the other teams.
Yeah, and that, as we get ready for the playoffs, PJ, I mean, to look back on it, though, and really ring that home, I mean, you and I had to talk about the fact that, this was a season that almost didn't happen. And, that we had to really go through this and the frustration of it. And, we talked about it in 2020 that we saw that the divorce was potentially going to happen, right? When we saw these, that the owners and the players couldn't seem to agree in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of people frantic and nobody knowing what to do next. You got people fighting over millions and billions of dollars and only the fans suffering, per always. And we went through all of that. We saw all of that. And I said, well, if this is a precursor to the collective bargaining agreement, sitting down having those conversations, we're in a lot of trouble. And then that ended up coming to light, and we were in a lot of trouble. And in 2022, we saw a stoppage. But ultimately, amongst everything that we saw halted, the baseball only started exactly a week late. And it was on the day that you and I talk on a Thursday, which was a godsend and all too fitting, a little present from God to say, hey, you guys have been covering it the whole time. When baseball's back, give it to Papa Joe. And, so we've seen all this through this, and it seems like I said, so many years ago that happened. I remember the day that we were sitting and talking about it, and me thinking to myself, what's going to happen next? And here we are to see this, situation come to fruition. And if we didn't have this season, we wouldn't have Aaron Judge. We wouldn't have these races in the AL East and the NL East. We wouldn't have this fantastic play. We wouldn't have the Shohei Ohtani rule. There's all these, really awesome things that have happened this year. Let's go back to the day that we didn't know if there was going to be baseball. and reflecting on that moment now that we've had it?
Well, at the time, I was pissed, and I'm sure you were, and any baseball fan would be pissed. But when you sit down and put a pencil to it, there's so much money being tossed about. There's billions and billions of dollars being tossed about here. With the cable contracts that the teams are making for their home city, the numbers are astronomical. And for the teams to pay outrageous monies for players like Trout and Rendon and some of these other guys in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, the money was there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of sitting down and figure it out. Anyone who's been in negotiations with any type of unions will know that there's only so far you can go, and you got to give it up. You got to spit the bit, as they say in racing. I always use the ploy. I always use this little term. I said, listen, fellas. I says, you're beating a dead horse here. I says, I can make it very simple. If I make money, you make money. That's the way I used to leave it all the time. And it would work out that way, of course. Now, it doesn't. It happens this way in the same way in baseball, too. There's so much hundreds of millions of dollars that they're splitting. They had to make a deal. I mean, the smart money were on the team's negotiating committee to get the deal done. No one wanted to not have baseball. Come on, you got to have baseball. Unless it's a strike that has to do with playing conditions or something else other than monetary. But the money was there, and they had to split it up, and they eventually did.
Yeah, and now it just comes down to paying Aaron Judge, who continues to cost more money. And I just said it in our live chat here. You can live chat with us on mixlr.com, facebook.com, and youtube.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. I just put out here myself, PJ. I'm going to offer him to join Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. I mean, for goodness sakes, I'm going to give Aaron Judge something. Everybody. I mean, if he's going to be out on the free market, heck, I'll offer him. I'll put my name on the jersey. We'll do whatever we got to do. So we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. I did put out here, if you were the New York Yankees, do you keep playing Aaron Judge with the playoffs coming up, giving him the opportunity to hit number 62? You can choose yes, let him play, or no, rest him. Early voting, 100% of you are like, yeah, let him play. I want to see number 62. So I agree with you all wholeheartedly on that. PJ and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We will be back momentarily to shift gears into the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-1, doing something they almost never do, which is win on the West Coast. And they didn't just win. They defeated Justin Herbert and the Chargers that were a couple seconds out of the playoffs last season. They defeated them by 4 touchdowns, 38-10 in an onslaught of a Jacksonville Jaguars performance. Shout out to Doug Peterson and the entire staff for that, and the 53-man roster, as well as the practice squad and everybody involved with the Jaguars on a win that is very rare in Jaguars history, which is winning on the West Coast. And then PJ and I will take a look back at our college football picks of last week, our NFL picks of last week, and we'll make our picks for this week, and we'll look at our running tally to see where things are at. We'll take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and be back right after this, where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you fall 2022. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, here where sports truly meets that thing called life. Always happy to be here with you with accuracy, integrity, morality, a little bit of comedy, having some fun here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we always do, where sports meets life. Like I said, we are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios and always love being here with you with Cafe Kubal. You can fill your cup up right this morning and all throughout the day by heading off to any one of their fantastic locations on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. Of course, you also find them in what I call the manliest welcome center. You can't miss it. It's a giant brown stripe building where all roads converge into Manlius. You find that by going to 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. And, of course, you could find them on the inside of their drive-thru location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. So, we had Bob Beretta in a special edition of AD and DT setting the record straight on reclassification and realignment. We have been the exclusive first stop to carry all information about LeMoyne College in this process for many, many months now. And this morning we were here to set the record straight on exactly what's happening. The fact that LeMoyne has not made a decision. They are weeks away, potentially months away from making a decision, and the ad hoc committee is going to be making their decision, presenting that to Dr. Linda Lemira. Then she would have to present it to the board, and still, amongst all of this, there would have to be an invitation from a Division I conference in order for this to happen. So, it has not been made yet, and the public document that came out, some people read it, some people kind of read it, and some people put information out based on what they thought they read. But we were able to clear the air this morning to let you know that the public document spells out what would happen if and when they were to do it, why they're looking at doing it, the benefits of doing it, and at the same time, how it affects all different pieces of the LeMoyne College campus experience, student life, and so on and so forth. So a lot of things have gone into it. Many meetings, 26 meetings have gone into this, as well as open forums, and a decision has yet to be made. It has not been made yet. And so make sure that you're following Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, as you have for a very long time now when it comes to LeMoyne reclassification, realignment, as well as our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership for all things LeMoyne related, coming through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'? Papa Joe's poppin', and ain't no storm Ian gonna keep anybody down, including Papa Joe. He threw a lasso around it, and he's riding that thing this morning. And Papa Joe is here with us this morning as it has been lowered to a tropical storm, and God willing, this Hurricane Ian will find its way into the water to die, to leave, to cease existence, and to say goodbye. We all pray for the people of Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, anyone else affected. Obviously, the great state of Florida, my second home, and to all of the loved ones connected to everybody within these areas. You are in our prayers and well wishes. We are there for you. And, you can always reach out. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. If you need a prayer or just some positivity sent your way, I don't care if you're a stranger, send off information to us, and we'll be happy to pray for you, pray for your family, and send you love and light and positivity. With that being said, Papa Joe and I have a lot to get into here, as we every single week tell you our picks. And so what we do each week is we review our picks to see who was right and who wasn't. We look at our records, and then we look at our overall record. So PJ and I have some fun with this every single week, and I'm always excited to do it with Papa Joe. We do our college football weekly picks and our NFL weekly picks. So we have to look back on college football week 4 and NFL week 3. I just want to let everybody know who's playing the home game, what the record currently is. So Papa Joe in college is 9-4. I am 6-7. Boo. And then PJ, and then I am 16-15-1 in the NFL. Papa Joe is 13-18-1. That pesky tie between the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. So on your screen right now, for those of you on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, you are seeing our picks from college football week 4 as we are reviewing them. And for those of you on mixlr.com /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com that are listening around the world, we're going to read these off to you as well. So even though you can't see them, it's going to be like you can. So Papa Joe and I made our picks from last week, and I'm going to give a rundown of the picks, and then PJ will give his thoughts on them once I let you know the tallies here. So going back and looking at our games from this past week, PJ picked Virginia Tech, and I picked West Virginia in that game. So PJ got that one wrong. I got that one right. PJ picked Virginia. I picked Syracuse. And so he got that one wrong. I got that one right. We both picked Clemson. Got that one right. We both picked Tennessee over his Gators and got that one right as well. And unfortunate happening for the Florida Gators here. 38-33, though. They did give them something, but eventually Tennessee took over in that game. And then we look at another matchup that we had both selected here, which we believed that Penn State was going to be able to come through with a victory over Central Michigan, and we each got that one correct. And so I like seeing a lot of check marks on this right now in a good way, in a positive stance. And then looking at some of the other matchups that we had here, another one that we had on the docket here was Texas A&M over Arkansas. Very close game, Texas A&M. I said I learned my lesson to not go against Jimbo Fisher, which I rarely do. And Texas A&M defeated Arkansas 23-21. And then PJ and I had OHIO over Wisconsin 52-21. So we got that. So folks, I want you to look at this screen. I want you to take a picture of it. I want you to frame it. I want you to keep it forever, because I only have check marks next to my name. I went 7-0 in our picks this week. A perfect 7-0. all check marks, and Papa Joe had a respectable 5-2 this week when you go back and look at everything. So we both had a nice week of picks here, and now I'm going to be above 500, so I am very excited about this, as Papa Joe is 5-2. That brings his college record to 14-6 overall, which is a beautiful thing. And I had a 6-7 record, which is going to change now. So my 6-7 record is actually now going to be 13-7. So I, because of this past week of college football, am only one game behind Papa Joe. I was drastically behind, and now I'm one game, well, I was a few games behind. Now I'm one game behind. So going a perfect 7-0 for me has me at 13-7 through 3 weeks of predictions, and Papa Joe at 14-6. PJ, what do you think about this week? What do you think about my 7-0 and the fact that I have now, thanks to this week, caught up almost with you at 14-6 you are, 13-7 I am for college football for 3 weeks of picks?
Good job. I didn't see the Syracuse one coming, though. I still think Syracuse is a little bit overrated, but they did a good job in winning, and that was really the only one that I have an issue with. The other selections were okay. This week, I know what I got to do. I got to go start my generator when this is over with. Because we won't be able to see or hear anything when I'm doing it here. I can fire the generator up and get some power to the house here. I think that the one game, there's a couple games that are interesting here. I think that Alabama and Arkansas is a very interesting game. And then there's, what's the other one I had? Clemson and North Carolina State. That's going to be a hell of a game. So going back to the Alabama-Arkansas game, Alabama looked like they're hitting on all cylinders. Bryce Young is an exceptional quarterback. He's probably going to get Player of the Year again if he keeps doing what he's doing. He's a hell of a quarterback, and he's so quick. But you know the way I feel about some of these quick guys that zip all over the place. They're going to get hit, and then they're going to get knocked out of the game. And Lamar Jackson and Tyler Murray, you better be listening to me. So Alabama going to Arkansas. This, I think, could be a trip-up game, but I don't think so. I think Alabama has probably got a little bit too much more talent. So with that, I'm going to go with Alabama.
Yeah, looking at these games that we have up here, and PJ and I, obviously every week we do our college football review of our picks and take a look at how we did, and then we add it to our overall prediction record, and then we make our picks on the current college football week. We do the exact mirror thing for the NFL as well, and so heading into college football week 5, as we take a look at this, Papa Joe coming out of week 4, 5-2, myself coming out of week 4, 7-0. PJ overall in 3 weeks of college football picks, once again, is 14-6 in his predictions, and I am 13-7. So as we look at the upcoming week, and you just mentioned here, Alabama and Arkansas. Arkansas, we know, has done some good things. They definitely come up in the last few seasons and had themselves a resurgence. Tennessee has, and Arkansas has. People expected Florida to do it, but in the meantime, when Florida hasn't, we've seen it come from Arkansas, and we've also seen it come from Tennessee. And a shout-out to Texas A&M, who a couple of years ago, I believe, should have been in the college football playoff. So, PJ, the first one you brought up, the Alabama-Arkansas game, we are going to get to that, but we're going to look at some other games here as well. There's a bunch of games. There's 2 games that are on tonight, Thursday, September 29th. South Carolina State at South Carolina, 2 teams that you'll see Clemson play. Utah State at BYU, who's still ranked in the top 20 at number 19 in the AP. And then on Friday, we have 5 games. Tulane at Houston, UTSA at Middle Tennessee, San Diego State at Boise State, Washington at UCLA, and New Mexico at UNLV. By the way, I said watch out for Middle Tennessee State because I trust and will always trust in Scott Schaefer. And Scott Schaefer, the former head coach at Syracuse that was unceremoniously fired, and I think way too early before letting him actually show what he has done and his staff has done, as they've all gone on to be successful. Middle Tennessee went on the road to top 25 ranked Miami and kicked their tail last week. So I just want to make a note of that and make a mention to my guy Scott Schaefer and Middle Tennessee for all that goodness. But PJ, before we get into Alabama here in their game, I want to go in order. So let's go number 7 Kentucky, who your Florida Gators have already seen, at number 14 Ole Miss. The Lane train has gotten into the top 15 in the nation. Kentucky at Ole Miss on ESPN at noon Eastern time. This is not going to be a future for the SEC because the SEC signed on a huge deal with a bunch of networks not named ESPN. But what are your thoughts on Kentucky at Ole Miss?
Well, I learned from the Florida game that Kentucky's a very good football team. They don't have many weaknesses, especially their defense. And the Lane train, I think, is going to be derailed this time. I think that Kentucky's going to win this game.
Yeah, you think the Lane train is going to get derailed. Okay, so what is it about Kentucky that makes you believe that they are the real deal this year?
Well, they're playing so much quicker and faster than I remember in recent years. And when you play, I know this is redundant, and your listeners are going to say, oh, here he goes again. You play in the SEC, you've got to play fast and you've got to play quick. And the only way to beat the big teams, the Alabamas, the Georgias, and so on, is to play fast. You got to do it. So that's the big thing I've seen, is they play much faster. And if you're a lighter athlete, then you can throw the ball quicker and make tackles. So I like their defense. They played really fast, and I think that there should be favored in this game.
I do also want to make a note, folks, that as we talk about, the SEC being so strong and so good, Tennessee has been a bottom feeder. Arkansas has been a bottom feeder. Kentucky has been a bottom feeder, and they're all better. They're all better now. They're all ranked in the nation's top 25. Kentucky, I don't want this to go understated. This is not basketball. They're ranked number 7 in the country in football. Kentucky, a decade ago, was a laughingstock. People didn't pay attention to Kentucky. Kentucky and Kansas, people said, wow, they're a great basketball school, but they don't even have a football team. This football team doesn't even compete. Look at Kentucky now. 7th in the country as we are here in week 5 of college football. We're not even halfway through college football. They're already ranked in the nation's top 8, top 7 in the country here. So I just want to state that once again. The Lane train, you think it gets derailed? I'm gonna go with you, PJ, and I'm gonna pick Kentucky on this. I'm gonna lean on Kentucky's side. I'm a little apprehensive to do it, but listen, this Kentucky team, the uptick that they've done, the better they've gotten, it just furthers the conversation that I had over a year ago that the SEC is going to form their own league because the NCAA has already said that they have no control over college football. And I believe the SEC will form its own league. Because if you look at them right now, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, not bottom feeders anymore. Ole Miss is competitive with Lane Kiffin. Then you have Auburn, and you have Alabama, and you have Georgia. You have Florida trying to find their way back up. You got LSU trying to find their way back up. This conference, it says something about this conference that the teams that you didn't pay attention to and you didn't regard as a top 25 team or even a top 30, top 35 team that have now moved up here and have found their way to truly be a powerful piece of all of this. So much respect to the Kentuckys, the Tennessees, and the Arkansas of the SEC, furthering my conversation that they should form their entirely own league, because I would watch 10 teams play for a championship in the SEC. Absolutely. So I'm going to go with Kentucky in this one. I hope it's going to be a great one. Noon Eastern time on ESPN on Saturday, October 1st, this coming weekend. PJ, we have seen Illinois and Wisconsin. Wisconsin has struggled. They're not a top 25 team to me more often than not, but they get thrown in there. Illinois has done well with former Syracuse quarterback Tommy DeVito. Why has he done well? Well, it's a conversation that I was having off the air yesterday. He is a pocket passer. He's not a runner. And what do they do in the Big Ten? They build up that offensive and defensive line. They build in the trenches from the inside out. It is a way to win a championship, and because of the protection that they involve themselves with all throughout the Big Ten, I thought as soon as he went to the Fighting Illini, I said, okay, I think he's going to do well. Why? Because I think he's going to be protected better. They defeated Wyoming 38-6, lost a close one at Indiana down the stretch 23-20 with some mistakes down there. They beat Virginia like Syracuse did, so former Syracuse quarterback also beat Virginia, which is kind of ironic, 24-3 at home, and they defeated Chattanooga 31-0. Your thoughts on Illinois at Wisconsin? Can former Syracuse quarterback Tommy DeVito continue to win?
Well, it's a good story, certainly. DeVito was a quality player, and he continues to play at a high level. But, my brothers would kill me if I didn't pick Wisconsin, so I just got to keep the family happy, I got to stay with Wisconsin.
Yeah, so PJ is going to go with the great state of Wisconsin. I am going to go with the Fighting Illini here in this game. So PJ takes Wisconsin, and I will be taking Tommy DeVito and the Fighting Illini to continue winning for Illinois. So I'm going to go with them. And then the next game that we have up here, PJ to take a look at in this matchup, or in these matchups, I should say, for our predictions for college football Week 5 in the schedule. Next game on the docket, and there's definitely, there's a lot of these top 25 teams that are not playing top 25 ranked teams, but the one that you brought up is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Number 2, Alabama, at number 20, Arkansas. Arkansas, of the last 3 years, including this season as one of those 3 years, has really done an incredible job at changing their trajectory. What do you think about this game?
Arkansas has done a great job over the recent years. But Alabama's got so much talent across the board, and their athletes are quicker and faster. So, and they can score at will, it seems like. I remember when Tua was playing, they had 3 or 4 wide receivers that were so fast no one could cover them. And I think Alabama's beginning to see that they got a couple of those fast guys that they're playing. And I like Alabama here.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go away from Slam Jam Alabama over here. Roll Tide, Papa Joe. Got to roll some Tide. So I think we're rolling Tide in this one here. I'm going to go with Alabama as well. I hope it's a great game. I hope Arkansas makes it interesting. I could see this being a 5-point deficit, an 8-point deficit, a 28-20, a 28-23, something of that sort. But I definitely think it's going to be a good one here, and I'm excited to see Alabama with a test here on the road 5 weeks into the season. PJ, Oklahoma State at Baylor. Number 9 ranked Oklahoma State, number 16th ranked Baylor. Your thoughts on this? Baylor has done well in the last couple of years, and what they did with Matt Rule as their head coach, who I got to know at Temple, propelled him to become the NFL's head coach for the Carolina Panthers, and Baylor has continued to succeed since he's left, which is showing that the culture change is working beyond his time there. Oklahoma State at Baylor, what do you got?
Oh, I think Baylor's a little bit overrated this year. Give him kudos for the last couple of years being well. And certainly Matt Rule has done a good job, did a good job when he was there. Maybe set the standard high for them. But I think Oklahoma State has the bigger, faster athletes. I'm going to go with them.
PJ is going to take Oklahoma State. I'm going to take the Baylor Bears. So I will be taking Baylor in this one, and we'll differentiate on that pick here. Baylor's going to be at home in this matchup. I think they're underestimated many a times and underrated for sure. And so I think the Baylor Bears, a lot of people look to Oklahoma State, and obviously with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC in the not-too-distant future, people even more so looking at Oklahoma State as the darling. Baylor so far this season defeated Albany 69-10. At BYU, they lost 26-20. Texas State 42-7, and at Iowa State 31-24. So they, have lost to the only ranked team that they played. This is the second ranked team that they're going to play, but unlike their other matchup, this one is going to be at home for Oklahoma State in their games up to this point. And looking at Baylor being 3-1, Oklahoma State has only played 3 games. They're all against unranked teams. So this is their first ranked team that they're going to be going up against at home or on the road. They defeated Central Michigan, Arizona State, and Arkansas Pine Bluff all at home. A lot of these big-name teams getting to start the season totally at home, 3 or 4 games in a row. So this is Oklahoma State's, like I said, first test on the road and first test against a ranked team this season. So I'm going to go with Baylor getting an early smack at Oklahoma State in this one. And Greg just said Baylor does have a victory against Albany, having some fun with that. So the Albany Great Danes in the FCS Division I AA. So I'm going Baylor. PJ is going Oklahoma State. PJ, next game that we have up here, this game I think is going to be better than people give it credit for. On ABC at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as we see the kickoff happen for Oklahoma State and Baylor, as well as Alabama, Arkansas, everybody doing this at 3:30 this Saturday, October 1st. Number 22 ranked Wake Forest, who went to extra time against Clemson and lost 51-45, going up against 23 ranked Florida State, who you and I both said Mike Norvell was going to make this program better. I knew Mike for all 4 seasons at Memphis. I've known him his entire time at Florida State. I am a huge fan of Mike Norvell. I told the fans they got a good one, and now we're seeing them ranked in the nation's top 25. Wake Forest is pissed, and they went to the extra time, but still came away with a loss. Wake Forest is at home, and they are hungry. What do you think about this? The chip on the shoulder versus the team that's been catching some fire. Wake Forest at Florida State. What do you got?
Wow, this is a tough game. Frankly, the only reason I like Wake Forest is because they're at home. I think
Wake's on the road in this one. Wake's on the road in this one.
Wake's on the road in this one. Oh, that makes a big difference there, Daniel.
Yeah,
big difference. It is a pick'em game. And what I was going to say is that you've seen Norvell come in and work some magic with these guys. He also knows how to recruit, and he recruited smaller, faster players, and that's what he's got. He's got some great athletes, and he's going to be. I think he's right now. He's in the top 15 for recruiter rankings for 2023. I like Florida State in this one just by a schmizzin.
Yeah, I got to go with Florida State in this. It's hard for me to pick against Dave Clawson. It's hard for me to pick against any of these coaches that I've gotten to know and build relationships with, and these are 2 coaches that I've known for many, many years. So Wake Forest going up against Florida State in Florida State. I'm going to give FSU the nod here. I think that they're going to continue to roll forward. I think Wake is going to take a hit here. Wake is one of those teams, I said, the two teams that had the best opportunity going into the season of defeating Clemson were inside of the ACC, were Wake Forest and NC State. And Clemson just so happens to be playing them back-to-back. They played Wake Forest on the road. They get to play NC State at home. So, it's definitely going to be a test for Clemson to play this game, but they at least get to be home for it. Wake Forest missed an opportunity. They're a team, they did it last year against Syracuse, went to double overtime, and they're not going to necessarily defeat you in regular time. They're not going to necessarily defeat you with their defense. They're going to defeat you by trying to outscore you, and that's been an issue with Wake Forest. They can score, but they can't prevent necessarily. And again, they had Clemson on the ropes. They didn't knock them out in this one. NC State had Clemson on the ropes for 2 years back-to-back, didn't get the victory, did what Wake Forest did, went to an extra period and couldn't finish it, and then recently they've been able to finish them. So we'll be talking about that game next here as we both pick Florida State. PJ, let's go to the NC State-Clemson game, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. So ABC is going to have an ACC doubleheader. Wake Forest at Florida State at 3:30, and right to follow at 7:30, number 10 ranked NC State at number 5 ranked Clemson. What do you got?
Boy, Clemson looked terrible last week. They looked terrible. The second coming of Tua did a heck of a job last week, lighting the scoreboard up. With me saying that, I think Clemson still is an elite team. At least they are in the view of myself and some other pundits out there. I like Clemson in this game, and I'd like to see him do a little bit better defense-wise. We'll see what happens, but at home, NC State's going to be fired up for this one, boy. But, Clemson could put some points on the board, that's for sure. I mean, if the second game with Tua can stand upright and throw the ball, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I've said this before. DJ Uiagalelei, the quarterback of the Clemson Tigers, this man has taken a lot of flack, yet his completion percentage is over 60%. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards in the first few games of this season. He had 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. As we look at what he has done up to this point, I mean, it's crazy to me the level of disrespect that DJ has taken for the work that he has put in and the numbers that he has had so far this season. The team is 4-0, and Clemson, looking at what he's done up to this point, 64.3 completion percentage, 1,033 passing yards, 10 touchdowns to one interception. Those numbers are incredible. If that was Trevor Lawrence, everybody would be saying, look at how great he is. So DJ, because of last year, people are knocking the poor kid, but his numbers are beautiful. Now, NC State is a good team, but this is prime time. This is Saturday night, and this is in Death Valley. I think the moment and the spotlight is a little bit too much for NC State and Dave Doeren, and I'm going to go with Clemson. You know, check the tape, that I respect Dave Doeren. I have respected Dave Doeren probably better than the NC State fans have at times. And I have given him a lot of credit for a lot of things that he has done. And credit where he hasn't even gotten it before. I like him. I like his team. I like the NFL talent that he recruits. However, on a primetime Saturday night matchup, I have to believe that Death Valley is going to be rocking and Clemson is going to show in back-to-back weeks why they, this season, deserve to be back in the college football playoff conversation. Final game that we have here, PJ, for Saturday is a very difficult matchup. It's a matchup that will greatly test this team. A team that's undefeated at 4-0 is at home against a team that is going to wreak havoc potentially on them. The game that I'm talking about, facetiously, which obviously means, for those of you that don't know that word, that I'm using sarcasm, is the giant primetime crazy matchup at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the ACC Network and on ESPN+. Wagner at Syracuse. Your thoughts?
Oh, that's awful, Daniel. How much is Wagner getting paid for this game, for crying out loud? My goodness. You could have Wagner in 40 points and it wouldn't be enough. Certainly in Syracuse, but a walkover, but it'll be over at halftime.
Yeah, and as I say this, I'm like, it's probably going to be like the Villanova game, and it's going to be close, and all. I'm not trying to disrespect Wagner at all. I'm just trying to point at the fact that, some of these matchups are head scratchers. But Syracuse is ranked in the nation's top 25 for the first time since the first week of 2019, when Syracuse went 10-3 in the 2018 season, won the Camping World Bowl in Orlando, Florida, at Camping World Stadium, now been renamed the Cheez-It Bowl. In that game with Syracuse going 10-3, the Associated Press and the coaches poll gave them respect coming into 2019, saying they lost some, but they can build off of it, and even not having Eric Dungy, they're going to be okay. Well, they were horribly wrong, and the team didn't do well, and in 2019, as Syracuse went 5-7, they were in the first week of rankings and then never again. So this is the first time they've been in the rankings in more than 3 years, because that was 2019 week 1. This is 2022, and we are heading into week 5. Syracuse in the top 25 in the AP, in the coaches poll. In the AP, they received, I believe, 22 votes, but did not make it into the Associated Press poll. So they are a top 25 ranked team in the nation, Syracuse is, as they head into this game against Wagner. Papa Joe, these two games hopefully will happen. They're going to be on Sunday, October 2nd. Due to the storm, they have been moved off of the weekend, or off of Saturday into Sunday. Eastern Washington at Florida at noon Eastern time on ESPN+, and SMU at UCF at 1 p.m., which doesn't have a TV designation as of right now. Your thoughts on the Gators and the Knights, who will hopefully get to play this Sunday, October 2nd.
Well, Florida disappointed me, obviously, against Tennessee. They're just not a good football team right now. I think Anthony Richardson showed his true colors. He ran them through all over the place. That's what he needed to do all year long. For some reason, maybe the coaching wasn't right or the play calling wasn't right. You've got to get this kid in space. He's not a drop-back passer. You got to get him in space. Let him roll out, dump, whatever. Just make him. He's the playmaker. You got to get the ball in his hands and allow him to get into his playmaker's hands. Florida can score some points. I'm not so sure about the defense, though. I got to give Tennessee credit. They were ready for Florida. And frankly, I thought the game was over at halftime, or at the third quarter. And Florida came back a little bit, and then they screwed up at the end of the game. But Florida's defense needs to sharpen up a little bit, and I think they will against an overmatched East Washington team. The Swamp will be rocking. If the swamp will really be a swamp. Right now, what was it? The Tampa Bay game was being moved somewhere because of the storm. Anyway, they may not play this game, so we'll see. If they won't, if they're not going to move it. So if they don't move it, they don't play it.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Florida in this one, and these schedules are made well in advance, and it lucked out for two of the three Floridian teams here. Kansas City at Tampa Bay is your Sunday night football game that was supposed to be played at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, but we know that Tampa and St. Pete's have been hit with a storm, and God willing, no lives have been lost, and that any damage done can be repairable. And God bless to everybody out there to have everything that they need, as I know that God does provide for his children. Jacksonville on the road at Philadelphia didn't have to worry about this week, thank God. And Miami didn't have to worry about this week, as they're in Cincinnati tonight. So 2 out of the 3 teams in the great state of Florida in the NFL did not have to worry about trying to replace anything. But Tampa was supposed to have a primetime at home, Kansas City at Tampa Bay. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully it's able to be played and we could do what we need to do. SMU at UCF, PJ, what do you have for this one? As SMU is 2-2, UCF is 3-1.
I like UCF in this game. I watched one of the first games this year. They look good. They look sharp. They look quicker. I like UCF in this game.
Yeah, I got UCF in this one too. They're 3-1 and nobody's talking about them. That's par for the course. So I'm going UCF in this matchup to get the victory. PJ and I giving you some bonus time here as we're past 11 o'clock. We're going to come back after this fast break with the opportunity to talk with you on our NFL games. Who did we have this past week? How right or wrong were we? And we'll give you our thoughts on that. So we'll go to NFL Week 3 and our picks. We'll take a look at what we got right, what we had wrong in our overall standings, and then we'll make our picks for the NFL Week 4 coming up right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. Thank you so much for being with us. Our prayers are with Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Cayman Islands, Florida, and everybody affected and everyone connected to those people affected. As I said before, hopefully no lives lost, and if any damage, which I know there is some, if any damage has happened to any home or business or anywhere, that it can be repaired, that we can always build back materials, but human life is great, and animal life greater than anything else. So to all the animals, to all the human beings, to everybody out there with a heartbeat, I hope that you are all okay, staying safe, and staying well. You are in our prayers and well wishes. We'll take a step aside on Wake Up Call. We'll be back right after this with more from Papa Joe. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they're always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios where sports truly meets that thing called life. Happy to be here with you on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street is where you will find Cafe Kubal in Syracuse, New York. You also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-through location, and you'll find them on 343 Fayette Street in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building. So make sure you head out there to Manlius, New York on 343 Fayette Street as well. And for those of you out of town, you can go to cafekubal.com. That's cafe, Kubal.com, and get in touch with them today online. You can have it shipped right over to you. So for those of you down in Florida and wherever else you are, you can send off to them today and they will send it your way. Taking a look at our picks as we do every single week with Papa Joe and myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT. You see that PJ and DT's picks are up on the board, and we gave you where we stand when it comes to collegiately, and now looking at the professional side of things in the NFL. Taking a look at where our picks currently are. PJ and I came into this week with me having, I have a just barely above 500 record in the NFL in 2 weeks, 16, 15, and 1. PJ was 13, 18, and 1. So we take a look at these matchups inside of the NFL to see exactly where we stand now as we go through this. So we're going to go down the line here for the NFL and let you know how things looked in NFL Week 3 for both Papa Joe and myself. So going back and looking at these games for NFL Week 3, we're going to start at the top. And looking back at Pittsburgh and Cleveland, Papa Joe picked the Steelers, and I picked the Browns. The Browns won the game, so got that one correct. The next one up that we had here, Houston at Chicago. Chicago won 23-20. PJ had Houston, and I had Chicago. So a couple wins there, a couple losses for PJ as we go forward. And then we had the Las Vegas Tennessee game. Tennessee wins that game 24-22 at home for their first win of the season. So I got that one incorrect. PJ got that one correct, and that's where we differed. The Chiefs, Bills, Vikings, bunch of these games we had together after this. So we take a look at this. Now Indy defeated the Chiefs. Miami defeated Buffalo. So we both got that one wrong, or both of those wrong, I should say. And then going on to the next games here that we have, the Vikings were able to defeat Detroit, and we saw Baltimore defeat New England. So Vikings won, the Ravens won, Cincinnati defeated the Jets. So PJ and I had all three of those correct here on our board for the Vikings, Ravens, and Bengals. And then next up after that, PJ and I had the Eagles over the Commanders, which was a victory, and Carolina over New Orleans. So we both had those. We did not pick Mr. Famous Jameis Winston to get the victory. PJ's guy, famous Jameis Winston. We went against the Jaguars, who got the victory here, so we both got the Chargers one wrong. We'll talk about that in a little bit here more extensively, how Jacksonville typically doesn't win on the West Coast. So we got that wrong. We picked the Rams over the Cardinals, and so we both got that Rams game correct over the Cardinals. And then PJ went Seahawks, and I went Falcons. The Falcons defeated the Seahawks, so PJ got that one wrong, and I got that one right. And then looking at the last few games here, Green Bay, Denver, and Dallas all got victories. So we got Green Bay right, and we got the other two incorrect. And so looking at this week inside of the NFL and the matchups here, so of the 16 games here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So PJ goes 9-7 this week in his, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I go 10-6. I believe that's correct here. 10-6. Let's see. I had the Raiders, Chiefs, Bills wrong, so that's 3. And then I had the Niners, Giants wrong. Oh no, and I had the Falcons right. So let me see here. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, that's right. 10-6. So I went 10-6, and PJ went 9-7 this week in our NFL picks. So if you go back and you look at that, so we add that to the 16-15-1 record that I have. Once again, the 16-15-1 record as we add that together. So that gives me 26 wins, 21 losses, and 1 tie is how my record looks. And then PJ had a good week himself, getting a winning record here at 9-7. So we add that to the grand scheme of things here for Papa Joe. That gives him 20. So overall 22 wins, and then the 7 losses give him 25 here and 1. So Papa Joe overall here inside of his NFL picks, 22, 25, and 1, and I am 26, 21, and 1. Papa Joe, your thoughts on our NFL Week 3?
Well, it was some good games to watch. I was really impressed with Philadelphia. I think Jalen Hurts has probably proven a lot of people wrong, including yours truly. I didn't think that he could be an elite quarterback in this NFL, mainly because he's a kind of, run-pass guy. But I remember years ago when his father was talking about Jalen, he told everyone that he was a quarterback. He wasn't a running quarterback or throwing. He was a quarterback, and he sure proved that in college. And they gave him a pink slip here to begin with, but he proved himself really well. He's really doing well, and I'm proud of him, happy for him too, because Philly's going to have a good team this year, and I think the Jaguars have got their hands full for them. And of course, the Jaguars. What can you say? I mean, I was in shock. Mary was in shock. Joe was in shock. We're screaming all over the house, and the kids look great. I mean, they just kept one drive after another. They were slapping Hebert upside the head at another drive and slapping Hebert again. They couldn't be stopped. And for his efforts, Trevor Lawrence was voted the Player of the Week, and he should be. We both feel this way. I think that he's going to be a hell of a quarterback in this league, and that's probably not the only time that he's going to get Player of the Week. So you bring in a really good football coach with a really good quarterback, and what you wind up doing is having a really good team. So I think Doug Peterson and his crew need to be congratulated on what they did. It was an astounding effort, and I can't say enough about the whole team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said that Trevor Lawrence was going to have great. I thought he was going to really improve in his sophomore season. I thought we were going to see him grow and blossom. I've said multiple times, repeatedly on this show, you forget that Peyton Manning came into the league, threw a ton of interceptions, didn't have many wins with the Colts when he was a rookie. You expect rookies to make mistakes as they transition to the NFL, no matter how good they are, no matter where they came from, what conference, what school they came from. And Trevor Lawrence, winning in high school, winning in college, I think losing 7 games in 7 years or something ridiculous. And I mean, everything that he's done, I said, hey, there's going to be a learning curve, but that doesn't mean he's going to be a bad quarterback. It doesn't mean he's going to have a bad career. And I said, watching his sophomore season as his trajectory, he's going to go high, he's going to progress, he's going to elevate himself, and I thought he was going to have really good sophomore season. He started off by doing that. I believe he was the AFC Player of the Week for the entire half of the NFL, 16 teams there this past week. They almost never win on the West Coast. They defeated Justin Herbert, who was able to play in this game, despite the fact that they were wondering if he was going to be able to go. I mean, you look at the Chargers and all of the talent that they have and all the players that they have in their backfield. And yeah, Keenan Allen being hurt, but you got Mike Williams. You got a bunch of talent out there on offense and defense. You got Justin Herbert. You got Austin Eckler. There's a lot of guys out there. There's no excuses for the Chargers that they can make in this game. And seeing what the Jacksonville Jaguars were able to do, James Robinson got over 100 yards rushing. Travis Etienne and him continue to be a force together. It's what I said they should be and that they would be. And I prognosticated what happened is that we were going to see them both and not one of them. People saw that Travis Etienne was healthy and threw James Robinson in the trash. James Robinson is a 1,000-yard back undrafted out of Illinois State. So if you want to throw him in the trash out of idiocy and ignorance, that's on you. But the Jacksonville Jaguars would be crazy to do anything of that sort, and they didn't do that. And they're using them both, as I said they would, and as Travis Etienne Jr. said in my one-on-one conversation with him, that he goes, get used to seeing it. This is what we're going to see all season. This is what we do. We're going to play together. They're going to build off each other. They're going to help each other to grow. ETN did a great job. And you look at just taking time off the clock. The Jaguars did it in the game I was on site for against the Colts at home, 24-0. And they did it on the road in this 38-10 victory over the Chargers. They were taking 6 minutes off the clock. They get the ball with 14 minutes, and they give the ball back when there's 6 minutes left, 8 minutes left. You're looking at these 6-minute drives, 7-minute, 8-minute drives, taking half of the quarter away, if not more. And just seeing what they've been able to do systematically with completing passes down the field, running the ball successfully with Robinson and ETN, and it's just a different team. They are able to keep the ball out of your hands, they're able to ground and pound, and they're able to frustrate the heck out of you. And I have the utmost respect for them and everything they've been able to do in that respect to get that done. So a lot of great things happening with the Jacksonville Jaguars in a 2-1 start. Like I said, with the only team winning a game inside of the AFC South to start the season, they are in the commander's seat. They have the opportunity to continue to move forward. And the irony of losing to the Commanders, but being in the commander's seat, if they continue to win, then they put themselves into the playoffs. They have their destiny. Destiny is in their hands, and what they do with it from here is up to them. So very excited for Jacksonville, excited for the offense, defense, and special teams. Very happy for Andre Cisco, Syracuse alum, and everything that they are doing, and very much looking forward to it. And in looking forward to it, PJ, we look forward to our picks of this week. So let's go into NFL.
Hold on a minute.
Yep,
Hold
go
on
ahead.
a minute.
Sure, go ahead.
You brought us luck. We had the power is back on. but there's a flash flood warning in effect for this county, and they're recommending that no one drive anywhere. So I'd rather have the power.
Yeah, no,
I'm not going anywhere.
I would definitely rather have the power on, and like you said, yeah, just stay put. To everybody I love down there, just keep butts in seats, and you guys got what you need. Greg said Jalen and Tua both undefeated, and former Bama teammates' addition and development of receiving weapons is paying off. Yeah, PJ, let's talk about this for a second before we make our NFL Week 4 picks. And first and foremost, I told you I'd ride it out with you here on the show as long as I had to until the power comes back, and the power's back on. So God bless to that, and may it continue to stay on. God bless, no stress, do your best, folks. God, please, please may there only be good news from here. I pray to you, God, more than anything else, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. I pray that the power stays on and nothing but good news comes from here to the great people of Florida and everywhere else. Papa Joe, we got to talk about something this morning before we get to our picks. We are 3 weeks into the season. We have not played a Week 4 game yet because the first one's going to be played tonight. 3 weeks into the season. We have gone 11 weeks, 14 weeks, 8 weeks. We have gone in seasons multiple weeks where it's who's going to lose are the undefeated teams. How many weeks can these undefeated teams go? 9 teams undefeated, 4 teams undefeated, this team's undefeated, that team's undefeated. Halfway through the season. More than halfway through the season. This season in the NFL has been drastically different than what we're used to. Through 3 weeks, 3 of 18 weeks, we are 3 weeks into the NFL. And of the 32 NFL franchises, 30 of them have a loss, 2 of them are undefeated, and they're the 2 of the most unlikely teams. 1 team in the AFC, 1 team in the NFC. Miami is 3-0 in the AFC. Philadelphia is 3-0 in the NFC. Your thoughts of being 3 weeks into the NFL with 15 weeks to go and only 2 teams in the entire country from coast to coast are undefeated, and their names are Miami and Philadelphia.
Well, you heard me talk about Philadelphia. I think that they've done a great job up there, and Jalen Hurts certainly is he's a force to be reckoned with. Damn, he's big. He looks bigger than he has been. I mean, he was a big guy anyway, but his thighs are like, he's huge. He breaks tackles, but he's a quarterback, like his dad said. He throws the ball. He does it. But you got to move him out of the pocket, too, and they do. He throws well in the run. Kudos to them. It's a great story. And in Miami, I mean, let's face it, I gave him up for naught this beginning of this year because I didn't like the way Tua was going. And Tua has improved a lot, but he's also healthy. And he needs to move out of the pocket a little bit, too. But he's got a soft touch to him. He doesn't throw the ball really hard. He's not the Trevor Lawrence who can drill your fingers off. But he just puts the ball in spots where his wide receivers and backs can catch it. And they're awesome. I mean, they're awesome. They have good wide receivers, and Tua is just playing lights out, and couldn't be happier for both of those franchises.
Yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see what's happening with both of these franchises. I just want to really, really put it into perspective for you to look at how crazy this is. Less than 1% of the NFL is undefeated. Less than 1% of the NFL is undefeated. That's how crazy this is. If you go and you look at the NFL right now, with 30 out of 32 teams that have at least one loss this season, and a bunch of those teams losing this past week, 93.7, or pardon me, no, it's less than 1%. 93.7%, oh no, I'm sorry, it's 6%. My apologies here. I did my math wrong. 93.7% of the NFL has lost a game. 93.75 to be exact. 93.75% of the NFL has a loss. 6% of the NFL, that remaining 6% that we have, has a victory. That is it. The NFL, as it stands right now, with 2 of 32 franchises, Miami and Philadelphia, each undefeated at 3-0, means that 6.25% of the NFL is undefeated. That which is absolutely incredible. And Greg said it, and I was thinking it. The parity in the NFL is crazy right now. PJ, did you think we were going to be 3 weeks into an 18-week season with only 6% of the NFL undefeated?
No, I didn't. Quite frankly, Greg is right. The parity is quite evident now. It's quite evident. And where does it come from? It comes from strong quarterback play. And some of the quarterbacks are, still have to play a lot better. the kid from Chicago. I can't even think of his name. He needs to play a lot better. Some of the kids out there that came into the league last year need to play a lot better. Now that Trey Lance isn't playing for San Francisco, now you can see San Francisco playing real ball because Jimmy G can move the ball. He can play. He's a player, period. He's a winner. And I like to see him in that spot, and I'm anxious to see what San Francisco's doing going forward. But, you go all the way down the line, and you've got good quarterbacks, and good quarterback play is essential in this league. You're going to have a quick mind. You're going to have quick feet. You better be strong. So, hey, Lamar, Tyler, quit running around. Stay in the pocket. Roll out of the pocket and throw some ball every once in a while, but please don't run the damn ball.
Well, and if you want to put it into perspective, through 3 weeks, the best receiver on the team through 3 weeks in Chicago, and I talked about this on the broadcast yesterday. You could go back and watch it for our fantasy football content. The statistics to really show you that Justin Fields has not been doing a great job at facilitating the passing game. The Chicago Bears, in 3 weeks' time, their numbers are awful in receiving. Their best receiver has 77 yards in 3 games. Good receivers will do that in a week. 77 yards. This is what it looks like, okay? And Darnell Mooney's supposed to be the number 1 guy. I'm going to read it off to you. Equanimeous St. Brown in 3 games receiving in Chicago, 77 yards. Dante Pettis, former San Francisco 49er, 51 yards in 3 games. Cole Kmet, their tight end, 40 yards in 3 games. Darnell Mooney, their number 1 receiver in 3 games, has 27 yards, which means in 3 games this season, he averages 9 receiving yards per game. That is Chicago's offense right now.
Yep. That says it right there. They're playing great defense. So, what do you got going? What do you got going for this week?
So this week we're going to start things off Thursday Night Football tonight. Miami at Cincinnati. Cincinnati has failed to protect Joe Burrow. He has been sacked 15 times in 3 weeks, which means an average of 5 times a game. And if he's sacked 15 times, that's only a percentage, let's call it a third, of the quarterback hurries and pressures. So that would mean he's been hurried or pressured 45 times to the 15 sacks. And when you're getting pressured 30, 40, 50 times in 3 weeks, it's going to be very hard to have a successful offense. And here they are going up against a successful offense in Miami, who is undefeated. What do you think, PJ, on this game? Miami at Cincinnati.
Since Joe Burrow threw the ball last week, threw the ball pretty well. And he is intercepted. I know that. And he was on his ass a few times. I know that, too. He's an extraordinary quarterback, a good young quarterback. But going back to what we were talking about with Tua, I think Tua is seeing the field a lot better. And I think he's understanding more what the coaches want down there. And in doing that, he played for a Hall of Fame coach. He knows how to win. He knows what to look for. And he's reaching for it now. And I think this is extraordinary too. I like Tua in this game.
Yeah, I'm going with Tua as well. I'm going with Miami to stay undefeated. I thought this team was gonna have some good things in here. Jalen, like I said, you got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. You have speed and speed. So if Tua can throw the ball 2 yards even, pitch it even, then he can get it out to him. He's done a lot better than that. So, they outdid and outlasted the Baltimore Ravens. They handed the first loss of the season to the Buffalo Bills. This is a good team, and Cincinnati right now is not. So I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins as well in this matchup because, listen, I don't see how this team, Miami, they're good, they're nasty, they're effective, and I respect them greatly. So I'm going to go with Miami in this matchup. The next one that we have going on, PJ, in our picks this week to start off Sunday, October 2nd, Minnesota at New Orleans. Your man, famous Jameis, at home against a horrible Minnesota offense that has struggled to get Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the country, arguably top 3, the ball. What do you think?
My man Jameis, what can I tell you? The first half was a typical Jameis game. It was awful. In the second half, he started throwing the ball much, much, much better. I just, Bruce Arians, when he was at Tampa Bay, said he couldn't win with Jameis Winston as quarterback. And unfortunately, that stigma is going to be with Jameis. I don't think that he can win at New Orleans either. Who are they playing, Daniel? I forgot.
That's okay. Minnesota at New Orleans.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is going to come alive. I'm sure that he's going to be playing a lot better than that. And I like Kirk Cousins in this game. And Jameis, I wish Jameis luck. I'm sure he's going to get a few more wins this year. I just don't think he's going to be the elite quarterback that everyone thinks he's going to be.
Yeah, I think that this is a game that's going to go as bad as Minnesota has been. You got to imagine that this offense is going to figure it out at some point. They have a lot of the same players, and so to me, I got to go in this matchup with the Minnesota Vikings. I know they're going to be on the road, but I trust that they're going to be able to take care of business a little bit better here. And for those of you that are joining us on the feed, we had a little issue with adding our picks on here to the feed on Facebook. So what I did was I replied to one of my other pieces here so that we could put it up here. So you will see them. It's just going to be in a reply coming after our picks for college, just so you could see that. I want to make sure we got them to you effectively here. So they are up there right now. We're both picking Minnesota over New Orleans. Cleveland and Atlanta, what do you have?
Cleveland. I like the way they're playing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns in this one too. I did pick Atlanta over the Seahawks last week and got that one right, but I think the Browns, listen, they're doing a lot better than other teams that are in their division of the AFC North right now, and I think, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, Jacoby Brissett is not a bad quarterback. I said it when he came out of NC State. I said it when he was in New England. I said it when he was in Indy, and I'm saying it now when he's in Cleveland. I think that he is a better quarterback than many of the backups you're going to see out there. And don't be surprised if he puts the team in really good footing. And outside, and besides Deshaun Watson, who they have to wait 11 weeks for, Deshaun Watson has caused a lot of problems, and Jacoby Brissett has not, from anything that I've seen. Washington at Dallas. What do you have for this?
Oh, I like Dallas then.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys in this matchup as well. I know the Commanders have done some good things. I'm not going to keep Terry McLaurin on my fantasy bench. I did it for a week, and I was like, I don't know if I should do this, and I definitely realized I should not have done that. So I'm picking Dallas at home, though. Cooper Rush has done well. They're riding a high. There's some good things happening. Dak will hopefully be back soon, so I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys at home. Seattle at Detroit. Seattle's been better than I thought. Detroit's been better than I thought, and Detroit's at home. What do you got?
Jim Goff looked good for Detroit. He's flinging the ball all over the place. For this reason, I like Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Lions here at home. The Lions have definitely had a better opening to their season, and like I said, both of these teams have. But I think the Lions being at home gives them a slight edge here, so I'm going to pick them to win this matchup along with PJ. Tennessee at Indianapolis. What do you have for this one?
I like Tennessee, big time.
Yeah, Tennessee kind of faltered coming out of the gate here, but you would imagine with the talent that they have that they'll be able to figure it out. The Colts are reeling a little bit more. PJ and I will be totally fine if these teams tied like the Colts did with the Texans, because it negates a week essentially in the AFC South, helps out the Jaguars. But I'm going to go with Tennessee as well in this matchup to win the game. Next one we have up here, Chicago at the New York Giants.
Yeah, this is a good one, too. Both teams are not very good. Just for that, I like the Giants.
Yeah, I read you off Chicago and what they have failed to do offensively in passing the ball. So, Justin Fields is a weapon, but it's a weapon that's not firing on all cylinders right now. I'm going to pick the Giants at home, and Saquon Barkley and my guy DeAndre Smith. Jacksonville at Philadelphia. The Super Bowl that we almost saw a few years ago, if Jacksonville had defeated New England in Foxborough when I was on site on location for that game, if they had won, this would have been your Super Bowl. What do you have for Jacksonville at Philadelphia?
You're making me pick this game, huh? Oh, geez. Conventional wisdom says I should go with Philadelphia, and I probably will. But I just want to see the kid play back up his good game with another good game. I do want to see that, but I think Philadelphia's got too many weapons.
I think Philadelphia's got a lot of weapons. I think Jacksonville's got a lot of weapons, and this Jacksonville team has definitely shown some things here early on this season that are better than I thought they would be. I'm picking the Jaguars to give Philadelphia their first loss of the season, leaving only Miami as the undefeated team in the nation for the NFL. Next game up here, the New York Jets at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh looking at potentially making a quarterback change.
I think that's a little premature. That I think that Trubisky is marginally. He's a good quarterback. He's had a great quarterback, but I think he's good enough to carry this team forward. I like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like Pittsburgh in this matchup as well because they're playing the Jets. I mean, the Jets are still a team. There's teams that have gotten better in the country, and the Jets in fantasy have gotten better. They got some weapons, but ultimately the team overall has not been doing that well. However, Zach Wilson has been cleared, so hopefully they have their quarterback and BYU product back on the field. Buffalo at Baltimore. Buffalo loses on the road at Miami, and now they have to go on the road to Baltimore. After having a heartbreaking 21-19 loss, they now have to go and play the Baltimore Ravens and be comfortable scoring 30, if not 40 points in this game. What do you have?
Boy, this is a game people need to watch. This is probably the game of the week to me. This is going to be a hell of a matchup here. Two great young quarterbacks flinging the ball all over the place. Lamar running. Josh Allen can run. Damn, he's a big guy. He's bigger than Jackson, for crying out loud. He's a big, strong guy. But, this is home turf. This is really a pick 'em game, frankly. But because they're playing at home, I like Baltimore.
Yeah.
And they use their tight end Mark Andrews a lot more than they did last year, and he's probably the leading receiver in the team, or one of them at least.
Yeah, this is a tough one, PJ. I mean, I know there's a lot of Buffalo fans that I know well here, but I think that, Buffalo coming off of this loss that they just took to Miami, I think that they're going to lose this one as well. I think they're going to lose back-to-back games against potential playoff teams that they may see again down the road. I know they'll see Miami again in division, but they may have to see Baltimore again. I'm going to pick the Baltimore Ravens in this matchup. I think they're going to take advantage of the fact that Buffalo may have this loss kind of sticking on them like soot a little bit longer. I think Baltimore's going to take advantage at home. Los Angeles Chargers at the Houston Texans. After losing to AFC South team, the Jaguars, at home, now they go on the road to face another AFC South team in the Houston Texans. What do you have for Chargers at Texans?
I like the Chargers, period. Everett's going to come back through well.
Yeah, I think, this one, listen, they got to go on the road after losing by 4 touchdowns, but the Houston Texans aren't really a match for anybody. So I think in that case, we are both going to go very easily here with the Chargers in this game over Houston on the road. Arizona at Carolina, what do you got for this?
Arizona, Carolina, good team. Baker Mayfield has really turned some heads. He's playing good ball. Tyler Murray, he's a little jitterbug all over the place. I like Carolina here.
Yeah, I think this game could go either way. The battle for the nest. You got you got the battle for the nest versus the Panther out in the wild. I mean, for me, the Cardinals at the Panthers, this is a good game. It's a good matchup, and the Cardinals have made some mistakes here. Carolina's done some good things. This is a tough one for me to pick because I think arguably this game could go either way, but I think Arizona's going to be displaying some issues early on here, and I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to pick Carolina in this matchup. Next one we have up, New England at Green Bay.
Boy, my Packers look like poo-poo. But Aaron Rodgers may be getting older, but he's smart. He flings the ball all over the place. Some of the throws he makes, like Mahomes, I don't know how they can get their arm down in those kind of slots and just throw it like a frisbee. I don't know, but I like Aaron Rodgers here. His good buddy there, Randall Cobb, who used to be the quarterback for Kentucky, went with the Packers. Then he got released. He's back with them again, and he's a leading receiver for Aaron Rodgers. So I like that combination right there.
Yeah, and Alan Lazard, my practice squad guy from the Jaguars, wearing my grandfather's lucky number 13 on my Grandpa Cavino's team, the Green Bay Packers. So I'm going with Green Bay in this matchup, especially with Mac Jones being injured, God willing. He'll be okay, and we might see Bailey Zappi, the young gun, or Brian Hoyer in this matchup, or both. So even more so, I'm going Green Bay at home. Denver at Vegas. Denver, believe it or not, is in the AFC West, leading the division with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're both 2-1. They've done it in an ugly way, but like I texted my friend Nate Hackett, the head coach of the Broncos, gritty ain't always pretty is one of my taglines. They will go and play the Raiders, who Greg noted are the only defeated team in the NFL at 0-3. Very surprising, as the Raiders have Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and Hunter Renfrow, who's currently injured. All of this talent, however, they haven't won a game yet. Do the Raiders finally win the game, or do the Broncos continue to grind it out and find a way?
Yes, they do. I think Vegas can win this game. Carr is just too good of a quarterback to fail, and maybe the defense isn't as best it could be, but Russell Wilson's going to challenge them, that's for sure. But I think Carr comes through for Las Vegas here.
I picked Vegas, I think, a couple weeks here. I'm going the other side on this one now. They haven't helped me to pick Vegas. The house, I guess, has won, so I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos on the road. Sunday Night Football, God willing, we will see this game. Kansas City at Tampa Bay. PJ, what do you got?
Tom Brady looks like a shell of himself. He's not playing very well. Maybe all the personal problems he's going through is affecting his play. I think Kansas City wins this game, actually, quite comfortably.
Yeah, I got Kansas City in this one as well. Tampa Bay has not looked good by any stretch of the imagination. Hard to believe that they've been on the winning side of things this season because it just has been underwhelming. And I'm going to go Kansas City. Final game, Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers, Monday Night Football. What do you got?
Jimmy G going to come through here. I like Jimmy G here. I think Stafford is playing well, too. Jimmy G played good last week, stepped out of bounds, though, for a safety. That wasn't smart on your part, Jimmy G, but he's the first play quarterback. I have no idea why they did what they did at San Francisco, but they really should be grateful that this kid is still there playing with them. I like San Francisco.
Yeah, they tripped and fell into, once again, disrespecting somebody that they desperately need. San Francisco, PJ's going that way. I'm going with the visiting Rams in this one. I think the Rams find a way to win. Gosh darn it, they looked ugly, and Cooper Kupp was not helping out my fantasy by any stretch of the imagination. And so that was a heartbreaking piece to this thing. However, I am going to pick the Rams in this one, so we'll see what happens here in the grand scheme of things, but I'm going to have to go on the side of the Rams. And with that being said, PJ and I giving you our picks for NFL Week 4, and we will continue our predictions all throughout the season. Papa Joe, happy the power is back. Happy that you and Miss Mary and Joey are safe, as well as Boom Boom and Miss Marissa. I pray and I hope the best for all your family, friends, neighbors, and car club mates, and I look forward to hearing from you very soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Take care. See you. PJ, once again on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We'll take a quick step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show and get you set for, believe it or not, it always feels like it comes so fast. It's like the weekend, I do Monday show, Tuesday show, and then as soon as I hit yesterday, I'm like, gosh darn it, is Friday going to happen quick? And bang, here we go. When we come back after this fast break, we're getting ready for Friday. So we'll do that right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond. You can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Salsa Q's, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT, WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage, and on Facebook.com / LiveNowDT. Once the shows go live, you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Mother's Cupboard, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Chick-fil-A Watertown, coming to you October 2022. We're also very proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your LeMoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We had our bonus conversation, AD and DT, with Bob Beretta this morning to set the record straight on LeMoyne College that they have not, I repeat, not made a decision. They are weeks, potentially months away from making a decision on realignment and reclassification. And so I'm happy to have Bob on the show every first and third Wednesday of each month at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and of course bonus coverage like this week with AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, aka DT. Also very proud and honored for the opportunity to have for Dolphin Dive student athletes, coaches, administration, as well as alumni and future Dolphins on our broadcast every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with the Dolphin Dive, which makes Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m., plus all of our specials that are added in throughout the months and throughout the year. You can see all of our Dolphin content by going to the LeMoyne tab on WakeUpCallDT.com, including our exclusive series chronicling the many months of reclassification and realignment with Bob Beretta, the Athletics Director, as well as President Dr. Linda Lemura. And you can also see our Dolphin Dive pieces with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And you can also see it by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So make sure you do that. Get more information at LeMoyneDolphins.com. Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse is also an exclusive multimedia marketing partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Very happy to be here with you every single month with the Bobcats. We call it the Bobcat Buzz, where we put a spotlight on their student athletes, coaches, and administration. You can check out all of these specials by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You can also go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and click subscribe. And for more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Monthly specials coming to you, including a Bobcat takeover in hour 2 of tomorrow's broadcast with the women's basketball team. With all that being said here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank my incredible guests, Bob Beretta and Papa Joe. I want to thank you for tuning in and for joining me. If you haven't yet, make sure you do. On Facebook, like it, follow it at Wake Up Call DT. Twitter, follow us at Call DT. Instagram, follow us at Wake Up Call _